Game 2 action in conference finals in the NHL at 8. Carolina looks to not fall in an 0-2 hole. They host the Panthers. That game's going to be on TNT Max. While in the NBA, Minnesota on the road versus OKC, they're hoping to tie up that series with tip-off at 8:30. That game will be over on ESPN. We also had quarterfinal action in the IHF World Championships today. Saw the U.S. secure a spot in the semifinals, a 5-2 win over Finland. Paul Hamilton has more up at our website, WGR550.com. Saints quarterback Jake Haener suffered an oblique strain in yesterday's practice. No surgeries needed. He should be ready for training camp. And then Lions edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson, he spoke with media today and did confirm that he's been cleared for football activities. Hutchinson did suffer a broken leg in the middle of last season. It is rule-changing season in the NFL, but college football got into the party as they announced playoff seedings will be different going into next season, as the 12-team college football playoff will move to a straight seeding model, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and the first-round byes. We also have early afternoon baseball today. The Yankees lead the Rangers 1-0 in the 8th. The Blue Jays are up 4-2 in the 6th against the Padres, and the Bisons. They will be on the road later tonight versus the Iron Pigs at 6:45, and that game is going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
If you wrap foil around that, just like the little bit of the base part of the banana where the fruit is, wrap foil around that top and they will last longer.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Who needs your bananas to last longer, though?
Look, I don't want to go to the store every other day for bananas.
They're 8 cents each.
What the hell are you talking about? What is going on?
You're going to wrap them in foil?
They're better when they're just a little green. Yeah.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Too much work.
Not that much trouble, really.
Too much work.
Says the guy that's got a spreadsheet with 3,000 fantasy teams.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
I thought about that conversation again today. I think about it every time I buy bananas. And you too.
Me too.
And I pick up the bananas and I put them on the scale, and there's like a lot of them, and it's $1.11. Everything is way more expensive than before.
But bananas,
a bunch of bananas, $1.11.
Right.
You got to wrap them in foil. Yeah. I bought a bag of spinach that was $4. Crab meat, forget it, like $30.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, like first world. My crab meat is too expensive. But the point isn't the crab meat. The point is the bananas don't change. The bananas are still the bananas. They're still like a dime each.
Yeah. Preserving them is about flavor, not economics.
Okay,
that's all there is to it.
I forgot.
I'm not really worried about the 7 cents a banana or whatever it costs.
Well,
or whatever you say there.
What did you shoot today?
Yeah. Holy.
Maybe you're too distracted by your golf.
Yeah.
To care about the price of bananas.
No. Golf has been a process.
Don't worry out there.
It's been a real process.
Don't worry out there. The annual Memorial Day speech is still in the green room for tomorrow because it's about Monday. The benefits of Memorial Day extend to even like as soon as today. Look around our office. It's already Memorial Day weekend here. Like there's nobody out there.
Every day here is Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, well, okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
Not to tell on anyone.
But there's not not even Ross is here.
Says the guy who gets here at 2:15 every day, by the way.
I know.
I don't know who exactly I'm judging. There might actually be people here in the morning.
Not even Ross or Amanda are out there right now. You can usually count on one of them.
Well, I did say to you off the air, like you're in a little trouble here, and you went right to Monday, which does look nice, and it's actually encouraging. I feel like it's that forecast has gotten better as we've gone day by day here. I feel like.
What do you know?
But the whole weekend is the thing, I think. Memorial Day weekend. I feel like you always brag about how beautiful it is for the entire weekend, and we're maybe in a little trouble by Sunday. Maybe we're clearing up.
I can't guarantee for you 3 perfect summer days every year on this weekend.
It is a lot to ask.
What I can promise you is it's meaningful, that will make you feel something to start the weekend or even just on Monday. That's important. That's good. I mean, no offense, Labor Day, who do you salute on Labor Day? Like, who do you raise a glass to on Labor Day?
The American worker.
The American worker. Like, so us.
No.
So, Memorial Day is way above Labor Day and a lot of other holidays.
We are not the American worker.
I mean, it's way up there. So it's got that. That's where you start. That has to be first. And then, beginning of summer, usually great, even perfect. If it's not, so you have to play Scrabble on. Worst case scenario, you play board games on Monday, or you watch, a Harry Potter marathon. Is that so bad? You'll leave work tomorrow. You have the 3 days. It's not even June yet. The sun's up at like 5:30 in the morning. All of it is just the best.
So defensive about all this. Harry Potter and board games?
Defensive.
From it's one of the best days of the year to like worst case scenario, I'm watching Harry Potter movies?
Whatever. What do you want me? What movie do you want? What Rocky? You have Rocky? I don't care. You want to watch lacrosse playoffs? Watch the lacrosse final on Monday.
I want to watch my golf ball fly through the air and not plug into the mud-soaked fairways. That's what I want to do on Memorial Day.
Okay, well then, I don't want to say what I want to say now.
I'll probably
play somewhere else. Maybe you can find a place where the ball will bounce for you.
Actually, the place that I play at Delaware Park, I have tee times for Sunday and Monday morning, and with all this rain, I'm thinking lots of places will be in pretty tough shape. Even this weekend, Delaware Park will not be one of them.
That's good.
There is one spot on that golf course that holds water, and it's from the tee box to the green on a par 3. And there's a cart path that you don't even have to walk through the junk. I mean, if you hit your ball in it, then you're in some trouble. But there will be standing water there. Anywhere else on that golf course is dry as a bone.
Then what are you worried about?
You're just
trying to find holes in my argument.
Well, that's it. Yeah, because you've just
Harry Potter
for years here. You've talked about you don't like my you don't like my aluminum foil on the bananas and my French vanilla ice cream. I gotta pick at you with something.
Of course, right? 50 years in a row, it's a perfect day. Then one time it might be a little cool. Maybe the ground is wet. Oh no!
I'm gonna take it out on you.
Sorry. It's not going to be like July 4th on a Wednesday, or you have to go to Aunt Barb's. For you put a suit on and go to your cousin's house. You don't even know them. You're just going to talk about politics all day. Memorial Day, just grill some hot dogs, and if you don't want to watch Harry Potter, you don't have to. You can watch. Well, you can't watch the Leafs.
No, that's right.
But you can watch whatever. You pick. Yeah. There's 100, about 1,000 options. Yesterday, we're complaining about all the streaming options. There's going to be watch a Mad Men marathon or whatever. Like, it's not even going to come to that. Monday's going to be fine.
Monday's going to be real nice. Yeah.
Monday's going to be nice, and you'll appreciate it more because Saturday, if not also Sunday, we're a little,
I think
gray,
I think Sunday looks okay. Maybe a little dreary, but I think as the day goes on, it looks. Listen to me like I'm a weatherman here. But yeah,
sounds great.
Saturday looks tough, but Sunday, Monday, I think we'll be all right.
So this has taken a few more minutes than I had anticipated. It is May 22nd, also known as Josh Allen's 30th May 22nd. We didn't spend a lot of time on his birthday yesterday, but I wanted to raise a question, and anybody who wants to is willing to jump in right now all day. We have 2 guests, so we'll work around that. But I'm ready for, I'm hoping for fans to jump in with an answer to this question, because I think most Bills fans who think about Allen and his career, in any depth, would have a name for this. He just turned 29 yesterday. I don't have to tell you what he's accomplished, what he has meant to the Bills, what he means in the league. Who is your favorite, or you think the best career comp for Allen?
Ooh. Huh.
This is where Bulldog thinks about the fact that I did not ask him this earlier. He likes to tell you that he likes that I don't ever give you what I'm thinking.
I do like this because I can be an overthinker.
I thought about telling you this idea a couple hours ago when I was making veggie chili with cornbread cheddar biscuits.
A little subtle brag there. Biscuits, huh?
Yeah.
From scratch?
from scratch.
Wow, that's
First time.
That
turned out great.
All right, good job. When did Elway first get to a Super Bowl and lose? Pretty early,
Elway.
right? Within 5 years.
John
right?
Elway. All right, let's start there. John Elway was the first pick of the 1983 draft. 1986 season was the drive. So he was in the Super Bowl in his 4th year. Okay. And his 5th.
Right.
And his 7th.
Right. Loss. Is there another one in there? 2.
Late Giants, Washington, Niners. He beats Green Bay. Was it only 3? It might have been only. Was there one more? I think there's one more. Denver had 4 losses, but one was pre-Elway.
Oh, okay. Craig Morton against the Cowboys or something. And the Butch Johnson
and Norris Weiss.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, that's right. So he had the 3 losses, but still,
through his 7th year, Allen is 7 years.
Yeah, he's going into year 8, right?
So through 7 years, Elway had been to 3.
Okay, then let's table that.
But look, what makes it interesting is there are many ways to attack it. And team, I think what you just sort of came up with is probably pretty common, where you would think about, because it's quarterback, you would never do this for any other position, but because it's quarterback, you would think about team results. What did his team accomplish? Allen, he could get there, he could win 4 for all we know. But to this point, there's a but with him. And he might not even deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's but Mahomes, he hasn't gotten there yet. And there are so many variables to that it's almost unfair. It might just be flat out unfair to do it.
Yeah.
The competition in the conference did Elway have a Mahomes?
I mean, he had Marino right away.
He had Marino.
Eventually he had Kelly. I mean, there was 3 years there where he didn't at the start of his career, but by the time he gets to the Super Bowl, he's got Kelly.
And even Montana.
And eventually Warren Moon. So Hall of Fame players, all of them. So, I mean, there's enough similarities there. I think Elway, I would guess Elway is a quick answer for fans who are maybe a little younger than we are, or maybe 15, 20 years younger than us, because what a fan that age won't remember about Elway is that it took him until the end to win Super Bowls, and then he won 2 in a row, and they might not have right there at their recall that he went to 3 so early before they were really cognizant.
So
following the league,
he wins in 97 and 98, and he was drafted in 83. So what? Years 15 and 16.
It took a minute for him to win one, not to get to one. Peyton Manning that has been mentioned because of really his struggle to get past the Patriots and Brady, and that maybe pretty closely mirrors Allen and Mahomes and the Chiefs and the Bills, I think. In fact, last year, I think Manning finally did it in year 7 and got past New England, and there was I recall that, at least seeing that. I never fact-checked it, but I assumed it was true because fans were looking for anything to cling to, like this is the year.
Well, so
it lines up.
Manning wins in year 8, and this will be Allen's year 8, right? 2005, I think, is Manning's. I'm sure of it. 2005 is Pittsburgh. 2006 would be Manning's year. So year 9, I think. He's drafted in 98. 98 draft.
All right, so I've got the 7-year thing mixed up here. Maybe it was 7 meetings or something. Whatever it was.
Maybe, but I think it's his 9th year when he wins. And I think that can work. Manning, for me, I was always very defensive about this. Much more so than I am about Memorial Day weather, that he's the best quarterback in the sport. Year after year, he would outplay Brady. But Brady would win more. And when they would meet in the playoffs, Brady would win. So I guess that means he's better, which I never subscribed to and I still don't. So does Allen quite have that? He almost does. I mean, it's been for a few years a makeable argument that he's the best. Jackson, has been better. Mahomes has more hardware, but I think it's a makeable argument that he's the best. And that can be said for the last few years. So that comes close to Manning.
Yeah. Yeah. It did take that long for him to actually get his team to that point. And so, that it's not like it's late already, but it's, again, he turned 29 yesterday. I made a sound when I saw that. I mean, I know how old he is, but just seeing it like, okay, let's go.
Will he make a sound at your birthday coming up?
I doubt it.
You think he'll be like, wow, that guy is
60?
That guy is 60?
It's a big
I
one.
will.
I'd be flattered. I mean, I kind of doubt it.
Eric, you have a name for us?
That's more of a negative if this continues take, and that if this keeps up, I surprised kind of like what happened with Warren Moon in Houston. It was never Warren Moon's fault. He was doing great and didn't have the great of legs as Josh, but he was decent on the run, and his arm was certainly amazing. And it seemed like the organization had good pieces around him here and there, but always then scratching your head of why they couldn't get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl and finish the job. I'm sure there were questions around the coach and everybody else, but rightfully so, nobody but Warren Moon. And with the Bills, absolutely nobody's questioning Josh Allen. But geez, what is it going to take to break through and finish the job? So that's what came to mind for me.
We'll let you go so you can get your wipers fixed.
I was going to say how good are phones these days? That's got to be wipers.
But yes. Okay. I mean, Moon never got there. Elway did. Manning didn't until 06. Didn't even get to one until 06. I've got 3 other names of my own to throw in, and then I texted Sneaky Joe, and he gave me a couple other ones. So here we go.
Okay.
Josh Allen's best career comp or your favorite career comp for him? I think in terms of his style, and I guess for the most part, his career, 1 MVP, no rings, is Cam Newton. The quarterback I think he is best compared to is Cam Newton. I think Allen has ascended, and not even like that recently, to a place where he's better than Newton. But the way they're both like impossible running threats and good to great through the air. Like Newton is who I think about the most for Allen, with Allen's future in mind. Like how he'll hold up physically. Because Newton kind of just sort of...
He broke.
He had personality challenges. I'm not meaning to blame him for that exactly, because that's a two-way street. But he had sort of off-the-field things that maybe didn't help him. And physically, I don't know. Like we never got to see him, because teams stopped believing in him. We never got to see what like old Cam Newton would have been on the field. I mean, New England, you went back to Carolina, but that was kind of it.
Yeah, well, that's because even middle-aged Cam Newton looked like old Cam Newton. I mean, I think so. Like, there's no, and not that you're saying that there's an injustice that he didn't get to, but he never, the personality, I think that piece kept him from getting one last shot anywhere, like catching on somewhere. I mean, how did I sound about that idea in 2018 or 19 when he first maybe became available? There's a comp. You want to have a backup who can run the same offense. Well, there you go. But I didn't want the personality here. I think that probably for a role that is at best competing for playing time, if not being a backup flat out, that's a big personality to fit under that hat. And that probably kept him from that kept us from ever seeing him play at the age of 36 or 37.
We probably won't get that.
No, I think that's over. Yeah.
I think Tarkenton is an interesting name for Allen.
Has the show ever sounded older?
In the sense, like the team context sense. And Tarkenton was other people would know better, but I think I'm right in saying, like, he was a unicorn as a quarterback. Like, the running element, just other guys just did not do it. And he was, kind of like a early stage Allen, where he would just run all over the pocket, all over the field to try to find somebody. There's just some incredible clips of Tarkenton.
Not the physical specimen Allen is,
Not
obviously,
at all.
but you're kind of a little guy, like more like a scat back playing quarterback.
More like Murray.
Yeah,
probably,
sure. That
or-
works. Yeah.
But
there's Super Bowl
losses.
and losses, right?
A guy who's somewhat defined by, as Allen will be if it doesn't change, the team not getting all the way to the top. So Tarkenton, I thought of, let me give you two more. Allen's best or your favorite career comp for him. I'll give you two more. Fouts.
That was the first guy I thought you were going to say. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, you thought I would say?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Fouts is, again, I have to admit, it's through the team lens. The Chargers they never made it. They went to AFC championships, plural, back-to-back even. He was always a Pro Bowl / All-Pro player, would lead the league in stats.
And then had to play.
Never made it.
At minus 30 degrees in Cincinnati or something in the playoffs. And
The Freezer Bowl.
Just sort of do
Had to go from the Orange Bowl, where Winslow is fainting, in double overtime.
Right, one of the longest games ever.
Double overtime in like scorching heat to the Freezer Bowl the next week. Not an easy task. But Fouts, Hall of Fame career, numbers, wasn't a runner. Guys like that, guys in that era rarely were.
No, Tarkenton is a little before that, obviously, but still was, it was rare to have a guy. A guy like Tarkenton, I bet, might really wish that the league had evolved to the point that it's at now when he was in his prime, because nobody was designing stuff for him to do, I don't think. It was just, he just did what he did.
Yep. And one more that comes really close in terms of style of play and team results is, of course, Lamar Jackson. It may be the best career comp for Allen at this point is Lamar Jackson. MVP. I mean, Jackson has two, but still, MVP. Great seasons, playoff losses to Buffalo and to Kansas City. Like, it's tough out there. Like, it's both guys will be remembered. If it ended now, both guys will be remembered as great, like elite, great stars.
Just not being able to get past Mahomes.
They don't have a championship. Like,
Right.
They don't even have an appearance in the Super Bowl. So what is it? So Jackson, of course, I mean, they're the same age, and that's different. Like, you're not thinking historically at all. But so nobody's perfect here. Sneaky Joe, I mentioned, the first name he gave me was Brett Favre. And, I didn't ask him to explain that, but we could do it. It's like just sort of the miracle plays, the talent where he does things. Even Favre is a long time ago now, like prime Favre, but especially young Favre would be like, young Favre is young Allen, where he would do insane things and also like, why?
Right. Like, why did you throw that ball? Why did you have to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works. And again, he's not the runner, but he ran around. That's part of the recklessness. Like he was extending plays and throwing balls into three dudes and just like, whoa, dude. But he won, that's 93 when they beat the Patriots? 96. Okay. So how long is that into his career? When does he?
Not super long, like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I mean, he's in Atlanta,
Right.
but Green Bay is like maybe 92 or 3.
Okay.
Where he becomes a star in Green Bay. I want to say 93 at the latest. And then 96, they win it. So pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then never another one. They got back the next year and lost, and that was it. Played a long time. NFC Championship, Minnesota.
Right.
Who is your favorite or who you think is the best career comp for Allen?
Lost that second one to Elway.
That's right.
Right.
They were huge, double-digit favorites.
That's right where we started. That was the first name that came out of my mouth, and here we are at the end, and it's Favre and Elway. 803-0550,
Matt Larkin, hockey news on the playoffs and the Sabres. Andrew Filipponi later on. Strangely, he asked for no Pittsburgh sports questions. We'll see. Maybe we'll have to trick him. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, thanks for listening. Your call's next on WGR.
really, really well. Said this before. If I'm going to go to a clinic, walk up there and I'm going to teach 350 offensive line coaches, I will use Dion's stuff, like his hand stuff. Dion does Dion, and Dion does not care. And it's awesome to see. He might be one of my favorite players of all time in the NFL.
Jerry Ostrowski on Dion Dawkins. Dawkins helped initiate the process, if not downright did it himself, for the new award announced yesterday, made official, Protector of the Year for the best offensive lineman in the NFL. I will be curious for how they decide that, like how the voting looks. Is that going to be a betting award? Best offensive, all the other ones are.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive Player of the Year, all the other ones are.
Not for us, but yeah.
Not for us, but how they decide on who should win. I bet it's very media narrative driven. You know, whoever certain guys in the media decide are their favorites, and they won't have to be wrong, but I'm sure there's certain biases that will be in play. They'll tell us who the best guys are, and voters will maybe succumb to that, or
maybe some of those people are the voters themselves. Who knows? I'm not sure.
Or instead actually study it really. That's what you would like to have happen. That takes forever.
Right. That takes work.
What am I going to do? Sit around all day, every day, watching linemen every game, every week? No. I don't know. That seems like a lot.
You might look at some rankings, sacks given up, penalties, that kind of thing, and then at the last minute, put a name on the ballot.
I'm already Peter King. What am I going to do? Crush Indianapolis, Tennessee film and tell you whether Quentin Nelson had a good game? I mean, I kind of already think he probably did because he's Quentin Nelson.
Yeah.
It's not really fair to Peter, but, you know, it's probably going to be some of that out there. Josh Allen's best career comp. Who's the player he comes closest to historically? A lot of interesting names. Some are through the team lens. Some are through, like, his style of play. Who would you pick? 803-0550. Louis is on WGR. Hello, Louis.
Hey, guys. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Yeah. As far as Josh Allen goes, Steve Young, the guy he grew up watching, he plays like Steve Young, but he's bigger and stronger. And another one is Johnny Unitas, which a lot of people listening today probably don't have a clue as to who he is. But he would put the ball under his arm and run. And as far as Dion being the best lineman, I think he might be, but he's got to go up against Will Wolford, Howard Ballard, Jim Richter, Kent Hall, Reggie McKenzie, Joe DeLamalure.
Not to mention all the other players in the league, historically speaking. Anthony Munoz, you might want to include on your list.
The award is for the best, like in the current season.
Current day guy, yeah, right.
Well, for a second rounder out of Temple.
Yeah, he's done great.
He's done great.
He's had a great career, and I mean, I played guard in high school for O'Hara, so like I'm 5'11", 250 now, whatever, but I would put my hands in Dion over basically anybody in the league because he's such a caring person.
Yep, he seems like he's been a home run for the Bills. So
yeah. He has aced off the field and on the field, and that is not always an easy thing to pull off, but he's managed to pull it off.
Unitas, I need to hear more. Like Unitas was the best ever before Montana. Like he was everybody's the best ever. And he didn't establish that, even though maybe he could run through that. So style-wise, I don't know. And Allen doesn't have that luxury. Like he's not the best.
No.
He's one of the best.
I like the Steve Young comparison.
Me too.
I mean, athletically, running-wise, I mean, Young was, for that era, the best, I think, at it. Again, it wasn't as commonplace. So a guy that did that really kind of stood out more. And even to an extent, in that era, being a runner, you could have gotten dinged for that. Like it hurt your standing in the eyes of people who wanted a quarterback to just stand there in the pocket and throw the ball. If you're running, it's because you couldn't throw it well enough or didn't see it well enough down the field to throw it, so you're taking off. And it was a criticism. It's only been really in the last 10 or 15 years that has started to really dissipate, and you're just seeing more and more guys that are capable of doing it. They show up in the league every year. Jaden Daniels last year. So there's great value in it, and teams have figured that out. But Young had to fight uphill against that, along with being in Montana's shadow for as long as he was too.
Definitely did. All right, Randy dropped off. Here's Arif next. Hi, Arif.
Hey, thank you. First-time caller. Yeah, I'm going back to the fellows just talking about Jody and Reggie. I saw O.J. Simpson in person when he got 2,000 yards. They carried him on the shoulders. So this is how far back I think in those days, Stabler and Fouts and those QBs, they had to play from the center. And, shotgun was very rare. And to keep up with the receiver was difficult because you could hit them and all of that. Today, you can't touch the guy.
Right.
Was just Stabler, one of those guys, win, baby, win. Remember that.
Stabler is an interesting name. He did get one, but the Raiders teams before that were like the Bills teams in that they were always short. They
bumping their heads on the Steelers.
That's basically right. And Miami, they didn't get there until 77, and Stabler had been on the team since I think 72. So that's okay. That's okay.
He was one of my favorites as a kid, Stabler. Anybody that was butting up against the Steelers became one of my favorite teams, and so that's how I got to those Oilers teams of that era. A little bit later, really, but those Raiders teams. I mean, from Immaculate Reception on, I was like, "Go Ken Stabler, go Raiders," because I was just sick of the Steelers.
Stabler would have been the hero of that game if not for the Franco Harris play, which maybe shouldn't even have counted. But Stabler goes into that game and rips off, speaking of Allen comps, they're down 6-0 late, and he rips off a 40-yard touchdown run in relief for the lead. And they're going to do it. Finally, they're going to do it. And then that happens. So Stabler would have been the big hero. But that happened.
I would not. I don't remember that play at the end just dwarfs the entirety of that game. If you had asked me, just in a bar, do you think Kenny Stabler ever had a 40-yard touchdown run? I would have laughed at you.
Maybe it wasn't 40.
Having seen any kind of
it's a great run. It's a great run.
He does not look to be like a guy that was going to hurt you with his legs. I just want to say it that way. I guess, to me, in my mind's eye, he is, slow and sort of, almost look like, I gotta run.
It's a 30-yard run. Would that change anything?
No, not at all.
It's a 30-yard run.
20 would have been, I would have laughed at 20.
But it's a great run. It's not sort of easy at all. He has to duck and dodge and he makes it. But that happened. He would have been the hero.
Sure, no doubt.
By the way, Arif, the caller, Bulldog saw OJ get lifted up. He remembers that.
On TV. Arif's talking like he was there, and I didn't get clarification there. But I did see OJ in that season, 73. I went to a home game against the Bengals that year.
You would have watched the game where he broke 2,000. You would have seen him be 100%. Lifted up.
Yeah, I've even said I didn't. This has held true for my whole life. I'm 8 years old for that, 8 years old for that, and I don't. The whole year I'm watching, the stats and his totals, and they're talking about the Jim Brown record, which was 1860-something, I think, whatever, in that range, and how he's close to breaking that going into the game. And my brain didn't process that 18, whatever it was that close to 2,000. So when they started talking about 2,000 yards during the game, oh, wow! I did not connect that he had a chance if he could break Jim Brown's record, that 2,000 was in the window. My 8-year-old brain didn't work that way.
1860 1863. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I said 1861, I think.
Okay, 1863 is the number.
I thought it was 1860 something. So good.
You're right.
Yeah. I didn't know he was 140 yards from getting to 2,000 when I sat down to watch the game. Then suddenly I'm like, oh, that's cool. 2,000. That's a nice round number.
So they took OJ out after that?
Yeah, he got to. I think so. That was not like it was near the end of the game, but it was not the end of the game.
They lift him up. They carry him
off the field.
And that's it.
Yeah.
They don't risk a 4-yard loss or something that would have put him back under.
I guess not. No, I don't remember him carrying the ball.
They could have left him in to sort of make it harder for future running backs.
Sure.
Because right now, he's 9th all time.
Right.
8, including Saquon Barkley by 2 yards last year. 8 running backs have had more than 2,003 yards in a season.
14 games.
I watched one of those. There's some excellent documentaries on OJ's life and the murders and everything. I watched one of them recently, and it was the chase scene. And Al Michaels, who I love, friend of the show, Al Michaels, is one of the, he just calls in, knows OJ, worked with them, L.A., like he's just sort of on the broadcast. Howard Stern had that famous thing with Al Michaels, lest anyone think. So Al Michaels was like a part of the broadcast on ABC, and OJ, the Bronco is, going along, the motorcade, basically, the Bronco, and Al's like, this is shocking because there's never been any indication ever that O.J. Simpson could do something like this. And you watch the documentary, like, what about those 20 domestic violence allegations? Like, really, there kind of has been. Really, he kind of was somebody where
I could see that.
Yeah. And poor Al's like, this guy?
Yeah.
Of anybody? It's tragic.
143 yards a game for OJ in 2003.
Yeah, 14 games.
143 yards a game.
Would that be the record? Probably. Because, Barkley's 17 games.
Yeah.
Eric Dickerson is 16 games.
Yeah. I've never added it up. I don't know. But I for some reason, I was looking at that. I think I misread something on Twitter about, it was like, I know what, it was like career rushing yards per game. And OJ wasn't like in the top 10. And I thought, well, what are we doing here? And I realized it was, for an entire career, like Jim Brown is at the top with some gaudy number.
We'll take a break. Josh Allen's best career comp, 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. talking about comps for Josh Allen historically is fun, both because we're talking about quarterbacks from the past, which is fun, you know. Some of you remember some of these guys, maybe all of them. There are guys that we don't remember. There are other guys that you've never seen that we talk about. That's all good. And it's talking about Allen, which I feel like in general we don't do enough of. I mean, he's there, and really, I would say pretty much all of this is owed to him. I just respectfully don't think any of this happens with average quarterback play, like any of it. It's a different coach now. It's a different GM now. Come on. But, you know, I still think we don't sit around and do the Chris Farley show and talk about Allen, like, you know, you remember this play? Wasn't that awesome? It just
right.
It's there, but it's not too often that we just sort of sit with it and thinking about like historical comps. It's fun too, just itself, because you're figuring out how you'd want to frame it. Is it because he runs? Is it because his team has fallen short? Is it because of some other combination of factors that make you think he aligns best with this other player? It's good stuff.
Yeah. Yesterday being his 29th birthday, I'm not one who usually, I'm up in the morning and I'm thinking about this, right? I'm thinking about today and what do we got going? And so anything, and like, you don't have to work very hard to find a highlight reel of great Josh Allen throws. If you're following enough people who are in Bill's content creation or whatever, like almost every day there's going to be something. And I don't usually, with him, I make an exception. I almost always watch what comes across because I do. Like yesterday, the Amari Cooper lateral against San Francisco popped up a few times, and it's one. And I do. I to myself, I do my own Chris Farley show where I'm interviewing Paul McCartney. It was like, you remember that? That was awesome. That was really good. I just look at it going, what an incredible play that was! Like just to go over there in the first place for Cooper to give him the ball, then him to dive like Superman. It's very reminiscent of like maybe his first big run like that early in that rookie year in Minnesota. He had a Superman dive to the pylon, on a beautiful sunny day, not in a snowstorm. But, ideal conditions, but still, like to see him do that is just, it's just awesome.
I wonder if we'll forget the name Amari Cooper for that in 5 years. Like, oh, he was on the Bills? It had to be.
Do you remember?
It was probably Mac Hollins who did that. I remember he was on the Bills for one season.
Was Gabe Davis still here?
Maybe it was Gabe Davis.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it was Shakir. He was good. I don't know. John is next. Hello, John.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, Bulldog, man. Snake growing up, when I watched Sea of Hands and they could beat Miami, I remember I had 3 older brothers, and they said they instantly, the whole family fell in love with them because they could beat Miami and we couldn't.
Worst late hit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That play. Manny Fernandez on Clarence Davis in the end zone on that play. Worst late hit I've ever. Like, that's just, you're not worried about it. I'm just diving in and taking, just whatever I have to, I'm just going to go.
Maybe if this ball comes loose here.
It'll still be worth it.
Right.
Yeah, to see Miami lose, it was worth it.
Agree.
Name I got for you, Marchiboro's Colts from the mid-'70s, Burt Jones. Big arm, 76 MVP. Ran a little, not a lot.
Yeah.
Not as much as Josh, but, up until this point, and it's all going to change for the Bills because they're going to win eventually, but they could never get past Pittsburgh. They could never get past Miami. Good teams, though.
I loved Burt Jones.
Me too. Had a poster.
Loved Burt Jones.
Bedroom poster.
Good looking number 7. Like just it just all looked good. That uniform.
Did he break down physically? Is that why he didn't play for long? Like he retired at 31.
Wow. I did not know that he retired that early. I would assume it had to be injuries. I don't know why else a guy would stop playing at that age. Because it wasn't as lucrative back then, so maybe it didn't seem worth it anymore. I don't know, but yeah, I would think it had to be injuries.
He wore number 80. He wore number 17 for the 82 Rams, the strike year Rams. and he started 4 games for that team. I have no memory of that.
No, I don't remember him
Ferragamo.
anywhere. I don't remember him anywhere else.
Yeah, Burt Jones, bedroom poster status.
All right.
I like the points the caller made about just like we mentioned one MVP, which is true, but playoff losses, not a lot of them. I mean, it was a pretty short window, the Colts, in those years. But I don't remember him really well, but liked him. LSU, Burt Jones.
Yep. Just remember huge arm.
Huge arm. Throwing to Roger Carr.
I don't mean that he could throw it hard and far. I mean, he just had a huge arm.
Oh,
like
yeah. He had one arm.
Like a Popeye. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
Lydell Mitchell is running back.
Lydell Mitchell.
26.
Yeah. The Marcher Broda Colts.
I probably got to stop now. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to remember anyone else from those teams.
Thanks, by the way, for some of you who have reached out about our new soccer podcast that's coming up called Kickies.
When did we decide on that for a name?
Kickies.
Exactly.
Well, it's still in R&D, but we don't want it to sound like we're too knowledgeable. Nutmeg is another name that's been thrown around as a possible title for the new soccer podcast.
I like that one better than Kickies.
Do you?
Yeah, I like Nutmeg.
All right.
It's a little more deep. You got to know more.
You got to know the reference.
That might not work though for us.
It's too inside.
Right.
Yeah, that's why Kickies I think is better. Plus, you love cereal, and it sounds like it could be a cereal. Kickies. Right?
Yes.
Blueberry Kickies today.
Kicks.
Kicks?
Yeah, there you go.
That is a cereal.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we should call it, but it's probably,
trademark.
All rights reserved on Kicks. Matt Larkin, Daily Faceoff on the hockey playoffs. Another great game last night. Dallas with the huge third period to run past Edmonton. We'll talk to Matt about how things are going in the playoffs, the Leafs loss, and also the Sabres' chances going forward. How about that? That's a conversation you've never heard. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog with Matt Larkin after the update on WGR.
Action tonight in the conference finals. In the NHL at 8, Carolina looks to not fall into an 0-2 hole as they host the Panthers. That game's going to be on TNT and Max. While in the NBA, Minnesota on the road versus OKC. They are hoping to tie that series up. Tip-off at 8:30 over on ESPN. We also had quarterfinal action in the World Championships today. The United States secure a spot in the semifinals with a 5-2 win over Finland. Paul Hamilton has more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. Lions edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson, he did speak with the media today and confirmed that he's been cleared for football activities after he did suffer a broken leg in the middle of last season. College football announced today some playoff seeding changes that will go into effect next season, as the 12-team college football playoff will move to a straight seeding model. It will reward the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and a first-round bye. And then we also have some early afternoon baseball. The Yankees took down Texas 1-0. The Blue Jays, Padres, they're tied at 4-4 in the 9th. And then later on tonight, the Bisons on the road versus the Iron Pigs at 6:45. That game is going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
It's nothing you did.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you. It's you, but you didn't cross me.
And the Bulldog.
Why did I choose? Why did I just stay in school?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Rare moment of candor right there.
You don't say.
Right there on the mic. What happened? What happened to me? I can appreciate it. Yeah. It's 10,000 shows. I mean, every once in a while you just
And
snap.
I'm almost positive that was in the midst of a Sabres conversation. That was just absolutely.
Let me see the pie chart on what we were probably talking about.
Annihilating my existence slowly but surely.
What were we probably talking about when Bulldog's like, why am I doing this?
Right? Why did I choose this as a career path? Yeah.
With us now on the Wester Hotline is Matt Larkin at M. Larkin Hockey. Daily Faceoff's been on the show several times over the years. Matt, I think it would be impossible for any hockey fan not to be enjoying these playoffs. All right, if your team lost, okay, I mean, I'm not saying like Leafs fans have to be thrilled right now, but these playoffs have been great. Drama, big names, all of it, comebacks.
There you go.
Right, Matt? I mean, has it not been a great year for the playoffs?
It absolutely has. There's been nonstop drama, especially in the first round. We had the back-to-back Game 7s on the Saturday and Sunday to end the round with the unbelievable comebacks by Dallas and Winnipeg. And to me, you could argue that Dallas is at the epicenter of the maximum entertainment in these playoffs. They did it again in Game 1 against Edmonton, scoring 3 power play goals in a row, coming back from that big deficit. And I think a team with that much depth and talent, they have the ability to just flick a switch. And the fun part is, so does Edmonton. The Oilers as well. They had their backs to the wall against the LA Kings. They pushed back as well. So to me, that series in particular, I think is just going to be nonstop entertainment.
Who is the best team left for you? Is it Florida? I mean, I'm not trying to answer the question for myself here, but Florida is the defending champ, so they deserve some respect, of course.
I think it is. They just have everything. They're the champions. They have a goaltender who's proven in collections now. They're 3 or more goals in the playoffs. We've only barely started the third round. That, to me, is unbelievable. Their third line has been absolutely dominant with Anton Lundell between Marchand and Eetu Luostarinen. And they have the high-end talent as well, right? Your Alexander Barkovs, your Sam Reinhart. Those two are 2 of the best defensive forwards in the game. They just have everything. They're so physical. They're the meanest team in the NHL. There's really no weakness on that team. So, yes, I do think they are the best team remaining in the playoffs.
Yeah, I feel like they can play almost any way you want. Like, I know how they want to play, and that's just, punish you with the forecheck. But I feel like even if a game opens up and you get a pocket within a game that is sort of up and down, they have the guys that can do that for them, too. It's not necessarily their best version of themselves, but if need be, like, they can call on it.
That's right. They can win it. I think coming from their blue line here in Toronto, just seeing what Seth Jones did in that series. He had a couple moments where his super high-end skating really played a role, just jumping in the rush. Their defensemen, I think, all playoffs have been unbelievable at pinching at the right times, and they have this ability to just hem their opponents in for what feels like, I'm sure for the opponents, hours at a time in their own zone.
Oh, God, Matt, that opening 10 minutes or so of Game 7 in Toronto on Sunday night, I mean, how often have you heard, you probably have written it, or tweeted it during a game, got to survive 10 minutes on the road, got to survive 10 minutes on the road. It's pretty rare when you think that about a home team, but that's how that looked. I mean, they just could not get out of there.
Yeah, I've honestly never seen anything quite like that. Game 7, you're in your own building. It should be the other team trying to survive. And I think the shot attempts were the stats vary, but it was something along the lines of 22-0 for Florida. And the Leafs in that opening, they look like, let's give credit to Florida. Florida made them look like a team that was playing in the fifth overtime period. Like they had nothing left in their legs. And I thought, we're only 5 minutes into this game. What on earth is happening here? And yes, it was a case of the Leafs soiling their sheets, of course. We know their history, but I think also you have to give some credit to Florida just for being that dominant.
We'll get to the Leafs here. The news earlier today, as we speak, very recent, that Brendan Shanahan will not be back. I want to talk about that here in a minute. You mentioned Seth Jones, though, in that seventh game. He's not always been the numbers favorite guy. Like Jones has been somebody who's a super high draft pick, but has been panned at times. But there were a couple of plays in that second period. The snipe for the first goal, and I love the read he made. Was it the 3-0 goal, or maybe even the one that was disallowed that he scored when he crashed into the goalie? I think it was the 3-0 goal where he read the play at the neutral zone. I was showing it to my kids. Like, here, you don't expect to have anything here, but watch what this guy does. The puck, the momentum's on their side. The puck is down. They're owning this game. He jumps up, and that's the play where it might have been offside, but he lets the puck slide into the zone without touching it.
Right.
Just brilliant stuff from him. And that was really Florida in those two games in Toronto. Just almost shocking, Matt, how dominant they were.
It really is, especially when you look at the score in both those games combined, 12-2. And I tweeted this, I joked about it, but it really wasn't a joke. I said, if you took the San Jose Sharks, the last place team in the entire NHL, and said, hey, we want you to play 2 playoff games for fun against the Florida Panthers, would San Jose be outscored 12-2? I don't think so. You couldn't do that again if you tried. And to me, that also, it does speak to whatever the mental block is with the Leafs, and there's just this anxiety that seems to kick in. It's, yes, Florida being a dominant team, but when the score is that lopsided, it's almost unexplainable. And it's funny, Craig Berube, to me, having seen him up close a lot this season, he's a coach that usually has the answers. He's usually very calm, but after 5 and 7, it's the only time all season that I saw him kind of just not knowing what to say. He could not understand himself why it happened.
Right, yeah, I think you just said it's mental. And, no kidding, right? I mean, news flash. Matt Larkin, Daily Faceoff, our guest here on the West Her Hotline. So Mike mentions it here. Brendan Shanahan officially out. I don't think that's a surprise. As soon as they maybe agreed to let the Islanders talk to him, it probably seemed like the road was getting paved for him to be out. And I guess, conveniently here, Matt, you've got contracts up that, kind of force the end of the era of this core group. But I think maybe with the way those 2 home games went, sandwiched around a very good road effort in Game 6 to even the series, maybe would have forced their hand anyway, but now it's almost like they have no choice, right? I mean, maybe they'll want to keep Tavares and he wants to stay. We'll see about a discounted rate there or something. But, boy, Marner's got to be following Shanahan right out of town, I would think.
Yeah, I do think the civic manner in which they lost really played a role. If they had lost in double overtime Game 7, hard-fought, maybe the perception would be different. You're against the defending champions, and you've made progress. But to me, I think the way they went out, it really undid a lot of that. And, yeah, with Shanahan, I think it was easy because the contract's up. And, he deserves credit for bringing the franchise, which really was a laughingstock, I think, 11 years ago. He brought the franchise back to respectability. He installed Lou Lamoriello. He changed, I think, the team culture, even just the way the games are presented in the arena and things like taking the honored numbers and making them retired numbers. He had a lot of little touches like that during his tenure that made the Leafs relevant again. And we can say, obviously, they have the longest active playoff streak in the league now at 9 years. So they have been relevant for a long time. He can hang his hat on that, but at the same time, you could also argue that he was part of the coddling of the stars and refusing to break up that core for too long when the results weren't there. The results were consistently just so similar year after year. So I do think it was time for a change. And, being the pressure cooker for him, maybe he wanted to change too. It's fair to think of it from both sides. As for Marner, it's going to be so interesting on both sides this offseason because Marner, he's someone who I think bears the brunt of the pressure more than most in this market, and it's affected his family. And, there's been talk of off-ice incidents involving fans, all that kind of stuff that may or may not have finally broken him. But at the same time, it's looking at the free agent market, it's dangerous for the Leafs because there is no player close to his caliber. And he's a big reason why you're in it every year, right? Because Marner plays 21, 22 minutes a night. He kills penalties. He plays the power play. He's elite defensively, too. 102 points this year. He does so many things well. Last 5 years, he's 7th in the NHL in scoring. So that's very difficult to replace. And basically a decision that the Leafs are going to have to kind of work their way through is, are we okay chasing something in the short term? So whether it's a Brad Marchand, a Sam Bennett, and understanding that we might not be relevant for as long now if we walk away from Mitch Marner, because it is going to affect, I think, the long-term trajectory. And maybe that's okay. You have to change something because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over. But I think it does need to be said. They're not going to be a better team long-term if they lose Marner.
Right. The bad blood with him and the fan base, does that trace back to the first contract extension? Because if I recall correctly, like he kind of went hard there, and fans, in my experience, like talking about football here in our market, Matt, fans are generally pretty unforgiving when a guy tries to get all theirs.
Yeah, I do think it stems from that negotiation. It just stems from the perception that his dad kind of tends to meddle with the media, with negotiations as well. And I think it also, in a less tangible way, it stems from, I want to say, in-game body language. Just someone who seems to disappear and lose the visible fight in his game during crucial moments, right? So you could argue, hey, it's not like Marner has to be the elite goal scorer all the time. He's a playmaker. But when you are a 102-point scorer and in games 6 and 7 of playoff series, last 20 games that he's played in 5, 6, 7, 0 goals and 7 points. There's just no defending that. He disappears in big games, and I think the fan base is frustrated. If you look at in Toronto, the players in recent generations that are kind of remembered and beloved, Wendell Clark, Darcy Tucker, Gary Roberts, what do those guys have in common? They fought hard, right? They never gave up, and they had sort of that fighting spirit, even if the team didn't go all the way. So I think the fan base just wants to see more of that fight.
Matt, Marner is somebody that Sabres fans, like, we're humbled, to say the least, at this point. You got to sort of be careful. Find out who's listening when you're talking. You don't want to sound like you're just oblivious to the history of the team and everything. But we do talk about Marner. And part of it, I think, is like, well, he's not far away. He doesn't really have to move his stuff too far. Maybe. But, man, if no matter however you want to explain away these performances in seventh games and in the playoffs, if I'm a guy like that, where really all I have left to prove in this league is to win and to kind of change the narrative on the postseason, Buffalo would be the last team on my mind for that. Like, I already have a certain reputation. Then I go there, it looks like I want to hide from the playoffs. So, I mean, maybe that's not entirely fair to the Sabres, but I think he's somebody that in a vacuum, this franchise should be in on. But I don't know. I'd like to hear that maybe they could get that off the ground, because if I'm the player, I would want to pick a team where I think I'm walking into a situation where I'm already sort of like getting a jump on postseason success, if you can actually know that.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22 when you're perceived to be a possible $14 million player, because a lot of the teams that are elite or knocking on the door of Stanley Cups can't afford to add a $14 million player to their cap, right? So yeah. I feel like just based on his price point, the majority of the realistic suitors are going to be teams that are lower in the standings. It could be Chicago. It could be Buffalo. I think for the Sabres, absolutely you have to kick the tires, because we know Marner and John Tavares too, by the way, two players that are top six forwards who are still known for being, having very close ties to their community. That could be kind of a consolation to go to Buffalo. I think both players at different price points could help Buffalo, because I think the Sabres, they genuinely need another top six forward. But again, so if you're Marner and you still want to win a cup, and if it's not Toronto, what teams out there are going to have the cap space to afford you? Maybe Boston Bruins could be one you could look at. I think they have a sneaky amount of cap space because they've jettisoned so many pieces. So they, to me, would be a sleeper. Carolina Hurricanes, I think, are going to be very dangerous. Obviously, they didn't successfully re-sign Mikko Rantanen. They're going to have some money to play with as well. So those are two teams that are, I think, in the more competitive tier that you could look at if you're Mitch Marner.
Matt, not that it is super important to clarify this at this point in time, but how did, you mentioned Rantanen and that tripped a wire for me, how did the information that there was a trade lined up between Toronto and Carolina for Rantanen and that Marner killed it with his no trade, which is obviously within his rights, he negotiated that or his agent did or his dad did, whatever, he had it, he used it, that's the kind of thing that a fan base will be very loath to forgive as well. How did that information get out exactly? Do you know?
I can't confirm where exactly the leak came from. I can make some inferences on which parties would have benefited from leaking that out. Once it happened, I think a lot of people could make that guess. But to me, the moment it happened, I considered a big blunder for the Loser fans. If you were going to ask him, it's like you have to think, okay, if you're Brad Treliving and Brendan Shanahan, that scenario, and you're saying, should we go to Mitch and ask him to waive it? Do you think he's going to? He's not going to. He's a Toronto guy. He's trying to fulfill his dream. So the moment you ask him, you can't unring that bell. Now he knows you tried to get rid of him, and that could affect the relationship forever. So to me, it was risky even to consider the trade if it wasn't guaranteed to be done. And I think that caused damage that might go down as irreparable, depending on if Martiner leaves.
And I don't think you can ever blame the player when they negotiate a no-trade clause and choose to exercise it. And was his wife pregnant at the time too?
Yes, she just gave birth a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
correct?
Yeah, that's tough to blame the player, and the way the whole media thing works, you can sort of, people inside use different ways of making maybe the other party look bad, and like you said, I mean, that could be something where you just don't easily recover from that. You're just saying once he finds out what the Leafs are thinking of doing, but it can maybe escalate from there. Well, at the risk of just sort of being redundant here, Matt, what kind of hope might you have for the Sabres? In the offseason, we've had everything here, and the latest talk, not just Marner, but some sort of senior advisor. I think the Sabres are open to that. It sounds like they are, but it's still a little bit late in the game. I mean, other teams have done a lot so far. I don't know what to really think of that, but would you be someone to think that that's necessary for them, or what else?
I do wonder, and I don't want to be too rude to Kevin Adams, but I do sometimes get a sense that he's throwing his hands up, right? Especially when he gave the presser earlier this year, kind of lamenting the lack of palm trees. I don't think that's a good look. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence when your GM is basically saying, I cannot bring in free agents. People don't want to come here. I still find that hard to believe. I think you can sell a player on a market. It's not like Buffalo is a market that doesn't care about hockey. A lot of players do want a market where the fans genuinely care, and that should be a selling point. So I don't fully buy this notion that you cannot bring players to Buffalo. It just has to be a scenario that tells prospective free agents, hey, we might be able to win here. So if you are able to install sort of a bigger name, a more senior name above Kevin Adams, maybe that would help just give the impression that the franchise is less rudderless, for lack of a better term, right? So, but I agree that we're getting, the draft is getting closer. We're almost about a month away from the draft. I think if you're going to install that position, someone in that position, you need to do it pretty soon. And I feel like maybe it would have happened by now. But overall, in terms of just outlook for the Sabres, it's tough. They're such a confounding team, right? 14 years now. It's not like they need to amass any more prospects. They have so many. And I do think they have to consider at this point repeating what they did with the Ryan McLeod trade last year. Yes, Sabres fans who have been mad at me all year, I did criticize the trade because I think that Matt Savoy is going to be a very good player. But in principle, obviously, Ryan McLeod helped in the short term, right? It was a good trade. He has exceeded my expectations. So I get the rationale behind the trade in terms of, okay, you can only have so many Zach Bensons and Jack Quinns and Isaac Roses and Yuri Kulich. You have to trade some of those guys for help now. It's time. So I do think that needs to be the plan, and I think they have to get deeper on defense as well. Goaltending, it's tough. It's voodoo. You have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who looks great one year. This year he regresses. Devin Levi continues to show a lot of potential in the AHL. Can he do it in the NHL? They have the goalies on paper. So I think it's, to me, more about finding another top six forward and deepening your D-core, and maybe it finally clicks. But I don't blame anyone who's frustrated in your market just thinking, what else can we possibly do at this point? Because it seems like there's often the talent there on paper.
Yeah, we've said it all over these years. Do you remember the Sabres in the playoffs, Matt? I mean, you're a younger guy than we are, but maybe not so young that you don't remember it.
Oh, I do. I'm in my 40s, so yes, I remember. I remember all the way back to the Odd and Alexander McGinley scoring 76 goals. That was my childhood version of the Sabres.
Yeah.
Those guys, Pat LaFontaine, and that was my. When I was 10 years old, those were my Sabres.
Yeah.
So don't worry, I've seen a lot of these runs.
Hey, before we wrap this up, we haven't talked about the West at all. Does the entirety of Canada now get behind Connor McDavid and the Oilers, or is that not how it works?
I think maybe if Edmonton didn't have a generationally magical player, that would not be true. But I think people just want to see greatness enough. Maybe not in Calgary, but every other market in Canada. I think they do adopt the Oilers for the rest of the run. They want to see McDavid rewarded for his greatness, not just him winning Conn Smythe trophies in a losing cause, because he's still that good. And, we have the curse here. It's been 1993 since a Canadian team won a cup, right? So we're at 31 years right now. So I think maybe people want to see that, or 32 years. So people want to see that curse ended.
The same year as McGillney's 76 goals, but then he gets hurt in the second round, and Montreal sweeps with 4 one-goal wins, and I don't know. That wasn't my favorite. 93 Habs were not my favorite. How about McDavid? It wasn't a goal, but the play in the first period where he intercepts the pass in front of his net and goes and gets that shot on. Hyman has the rebound. I think goalie's lucky there. It hits the inside of his arm and then off like his side and out. Man, that was almost every game he gives you something like that, McDavid. So.
Or you could make a highlight reel tape of all the plays that don't result in goals.
I know.
He makes 15 of those, oh my God, gasping moments every game. And to me, he is, if you remove comparison era to era, I'm still obviously going to be a Gretzky stan forever. But in terms of just pure talent, I think he is the deadliest player ever with the puck on his stick. Pavel Bure maybe was that player for me for a long time, but there are things McDavid can do at just such high speeds that no player has ever been able to do.
Right. The speed and the size, and there's a little bit of so many great players from the past that are in him. Like Lindros was big like that. He's bigger even than McDavid, but did not have the hands and the skill. Just he's a little bit of so many guys over the years. Really special. And unlike in other sports, that play can amount to just a face-off. Right. Basketball, it's on Sports Center. Every other sport, it counts for something. Hockey is just an amazing highlight. Anyway, Matt, thank you for today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the playoffs. Maybe we'll talk again this offseason.
Thanks so much, guys. You enjoy it too.
Thank you. Matt Larkin from Daily Faceoff. During the season, I'm on that site almost every day. If for no other reason than to check tonight's starting goalies or that night's starting goalies, because they have that usually ahead of, in fantasy, they'll be ahead of Yahoo and ahead of others for who is expected to start in goal tonight. All right, we're talking first hour historical comps for Josh Allen. 803-0550. I wrote down from our names and callers 10 different names, and I didn't hear anybody twice.
Pretty good job by everyone.
Maybe it's not easy. Maybe there's not an obvious answer for Allen historically. Lines are open for your calls. We're free until 6 when Andrew Filipponi joins the show. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
to conference finals action tonight at 8 o'clock in the NHL. Carolina looks to not fall into an 0-2 hole as they host the Florida Panthers. That game's going to be on TNT and Max. We also got news out of Toronto as the Maple Leafs have announced that team president Brendan Shanahan's contract will not be renewed when it expires on June 30th. Shanahan has been in that role with Toronto since 2014. While in the NBA, Minnesota, they are on the road versus Oklahoma City, hoping to top that series with tip-off at 8:30 over on ESPN. College football announced changes to their playoff seeding, which will go in effect next season. 12-team college football playoff will move to a straight seeding model, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and the first-round bye. And then in baseball, the Yankees did take down Texas 1-0. The Blue Jays and Padres are in extra innings, and the Bisons, they will be on the road later tonight versus the Iron Pigs at 6:45. That game is on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
He'll take it. He'll backpedal a 3 for the win. And he got it!
They got to make sure he got all the way behind the line.
That's right.
He certainly got it up in plenty of time.
Oh, I think that's a 2.
That is a 2. You're right.
I think that's going to be a 2.
That only ties the game. That ties the game.
Still, little preemptive choke sign there.
Still. 14 down under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The NBA playoffs have been great, too. Tyrese Halliburton. What a shot, I guess.
Right.
Kind of a brick.
Didn't see it, yeah. It went off the rim and up in the air and hung there for a while, and Knick fans were holding their breaths, and then it went through.
I bet there's a shot like a basketball movie, a basketball scene in a movie like that, where they thought, let's do that for the dramatic effect. Let's have it bounce off the rim and just go as high up as is humanly possible, and we'll slow the shot down, and the ball will be in the air for like 10 seconds, and then it falls. There's got to be. I'm not saying it would be a good movie.
No,
but there would be that would have happened in a movie. It would have been for the win, though, in the movie.
Right, in the movie, sure. How does Joey Chitwood's... Jimmy, sorry. Joey Chitwood was a stunt car driver that used to perform at the Erie County Fair.
Close.
Sure. How did hit that shot go in? I don't remember. Did it rattle around, or did he just drain it?
I think he just buried it.
Swished it.
I haven't seen that movie, Hoosiers, in a long time. I think he just buried it.
Jimmy Chitwood. Okay, get it right.
I'll make it.
Yeah.
Right, in the huddle.
Yeah.
After the players all give Norman Day all the dirty looks, like, really? He's a decoy? Jimmy? You would never. What do you mean? What?
Right, what are we doing here?
What?
Yep.
I'll make it. I think he has to make. I think with that setup, he has to swish it.
Just drain it.
He can't do this. He can't do this nonsense from last night where it bricks the back rim and then just
I know it definitely didn't do that. I don't remember that ball suspended in the air, but it could have hit the backboard and the front of the rim and rattled around a little. But a swish is the most likely
I think it's
scenario.
A swish. Yeah. I don't know for sure. I think it's a swish. I think it should have been. Have we all seen Hoosiers? It's 40 years ago.
I'm going to say probably not.
It's longer ago. The movie is older than when it was made, like when it was set.
Right.
It would have been 30 to 35 years in the past where the movie is set, 50s. And now it's 40 years ago, 39, 40 years ago, Hoosiers. It's good. It's overrated.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think I don't want to put my name on that. You feel free, obviously.
Overrated.
I haven't seen it in long enough but I remember really liking the movie.
It's The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh when it comes to a basketball movie. I mean, it's not a lower tier than that. There's no doubt about that. It's good.
I've never seen this Fish Club That Saved Pittsburgh movie.
Dr. J?
Yeah.
You got to see it.
Never saw it.
There's a great basketball movie.
Somehow I've managed to make it this far.
Well,
So I don't know about God.
What you do in life is you're happy with what you have.
Right.
And what you haven't done, you don't want to be sad about that. So you're just like, I've done a lot. I'm happy with my life, even though I haven't seen the fish that saved Pittsburgh.
Somehow I
doesn't
persevered.
feel like a void.
Yep.
Doesn't really feel like I've missed out. And I still have time. It's the kind of thing you could still do. It's not exactly like going to the Great Wall of China or something where you feel like you'll never have a chance to do that.
No, I could just go home tonight and before the hockey game starts, tap into any one of my 17,000 streaming services that I'm paying $6.99 a month for, and yeah.
You think it's on one of them?
Find my way to it.
It might be too obscure for even to be on. I doubt it's on Netflix or anything. You get Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
You love Jonathan Winters.
Maybe I do.
Yes,
maybe I can,
everybody does.
Maybe I can find it on Acorn. My wife has an Acorn subscription.
What's Acorn?
It's some British, streaming.
Really?
British crime dramas mostly. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Acorn?
I'm not kidding. Yes, that's a thing. I just looked today. We talked about this yesterday, and you mentioned we see the ads for the apps that will tell you what you have and what you're paying. My Apple TV subscription actually does that. Like it houses all of that under one umbrella, and I can go in there and look. And I think about 6 months ago, I went in there and I went, Acorn, get out of here. Acorn. But it's back because my wife likes it.
Okay.
I'm going to stay out of the way on Acorn.
You got to see this movie. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page now. Jerry Tarkanian is in it. Kareem. Marv Albert.
None of these people are actors.
Bob Lanier. No, they're real players.
Yeah. Acting like they're playing basketball. That sounds a little odd.
No, like really playing.
Yeah.
Not like the South Bend high school jokers. They might have been really playing. Here's Tom with us. Hello, Tom.
Hey guys, wanted to call in about your Josh Allen question. I like the question.
Good.
Had a name in mind. This is kind of just based off my football watch. I've been a Bills fan only 20 years or so, but I was kind of thinking Donovan McNabb. McNabb drafted in '99. Then he went to those 4 consecutive NFC Championship games in 01, 04, I want to say it was.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they kind of had the same trajectory. Josh kind of had the instant success within 2 to 3 years. He's only been to 2 NFC Championships, but it feels like 4 because we're always contenders. But I just feel like their careers have been kind of the same to this point, just based on where they've been, the AFC and NFC Championships, and them contending every year for a Super Bowl. So, yeah, he's kind of the first name I thought.
I think that's really good. I think that's really good, and I hadn't thought of McNabb. But, again, thank you, Tom. You're doing it through the team lens, and that is what is unique to quarterback. If we talked about running back, would anybody
be about yards and touchdowns?
It would be about style.
Right.
This guy would run over you, this guy would run around you, but it would never even Barry Sanders not getting to a Super Bowl is never mentioned. It's not held against him in the slightest. But quarterback, so many of these comparisons are about how the teams did. And I'm not saying that's wrong. That's kind of what quarterback is. So McNabb is really close. I like how he said it. They haven't been to 4 AFC championships, but it seems like it.
Right.
It does seem like it. They could have been. Maybe should have been to 3 in 4 years or 5 years. So I like McNabb for this. I'm going to add him to the list. He has a nickname, but only one on Pro Football Reference. Only one.
Is it related to his Chunky Soup sponsorships?
It is not.
Okay.
Unless he did 5 different ad campaigns because it's 5. His nickname is 5.
His nickname is his number?
Yes.
I want this entire conversation stricken from the record.
5.
5 is his nickname.
Mike is next. Hello, Mike.
Well, how you guys doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Great. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Just wanted to call and comment about the whole basketball end of the movie. Ball hits off the rim, goes up in the air. Actually, Teen Wolf, Michael J. Fox, at the very end scene, he's free throw to win the game. Hits the front of the rim, and it goes up in the air for like 10 seconds. Crowd holds their breath. And I hate to bring up Teen Wolf, but 1985. But I had a call.
I love it.
I'm thrilled that you thought to bring up Teen Wolf.
Yeah. I love that it was your first call ever to the show. And we have this about Teen Wolf.
You want to squeeze in? You want to tell me directly? I need to see this movie because I don't think I've seen this movie. So maybe I can have a double header with the fish that. What is this thing called?
The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh.
That and Teen Wolf.
No,
I'll set up a big screen in the backyard and we'll invite people over.
I think Mike, the caller, might agree. Teen Wolf is unwatchable.
No, are you kidding me? It should have won an Oscar.
Should have won an Oscar is so funny. That's good. Especially if you mean it. That's good, Mike. Thank you, Mike. It should have won an Oscar. Well, didn't he say he was embarrassed to mention Teen Wolf? Sorry to mention Teen Wolf, but I got the sense he didn't really like the movie or respect it, and then he pushes back. Smart. That was a good play by Mike. I had him read wrong. As somebody that didn't respect Teen Wolf.
It's possible I've seen some of these things and I've just forgotten. I mean, I forgot a lot of stuff.
Teen Wolf.
There's only so much room in here, some stuff slips away. But I don't think I ever saw Teen Wolf.
You'd like the Fish to Save Pittsburgh. It's a different era too. It's not like 80s. I mean, you're not going to see Molly Ringwald in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. It's not a John Hughes movie.
All right.
It's not one of these, sappy teenage 80s rom-coms. It's like a cool basketball movie with lots of famous people in it and Harry Shearer.
Please tell me Harry Shearer is like the trainer or something.
I don't know.
He's not.
I know he's in it.
He's not in shorts trying to guard Dr. J, is he?
Let's hope. I want to go back and check.
That seems like that would be a tough assignment.
It's a tough assignment.
It's a tough assignment.
That would be a tough assignment.
Coach, what are we doing here?
For
Dr.
anybody.
J, he's eating Shearer alive.
So we're back here in 1979.
It's someone else on Dr. J. Not the bass player from Spinal Tap. Can we get him out of here?
Can we get Greg to do like a basketball version of the Serial All-Stars, and except that it's like basketball legends and actors from the 70s and 80s? Oh, dear God. Julius Erving is going off against Lonnie Anderson. That would be funny. I'm not sure she's in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Speaking of Pittsburgh, Andrew Filipponi will join us at 6 today. Let's take another call. Here is Randy. Hi, Randy.
Gentlemen, speaking of John Hughes movies, I just wanted to confirm, or if you could dispel, that the rumor of you two guest appearing in the new Hallmark movie with William Sitner in the opening scene, if that's true or not. Just curious.
I'm not in it. I know that.
There's no. I'm sorry. I've not heard this rumor. I did apply, and I did not get a part.
Gotcha. Well, that is a shame, and maybe things will change, Bulldog. But back on the Josh Allen situation there, the conversation.
Yes.
I love the point you guys made about Brett Favre. Absolutely true. Early on in his career, and then as time went on, I started to think about it. A kid from a small school, big arm, athletic. Who does this remind me of? Oh man, what about that guy from Tulane, J.P. Lossman? That's where my head went for a second. But I think after the perfect game, I'll never forget. I went on to NBC Boston Sports, and Tom Curran said it best. He runs better than Mahomes. He runs better than Rodgers. He runs better than Burrow, but he throws better than Lamar. There's nobody like him. Absolute unicorn. I think quarterbacks, if there's anyone ever like him ever again in our lifetime, you compare it to him. He's his own entity. He's 1-1. There's nobody to compare him to. There he is.
All right. Well, how it's going to be, not that any of that is wrong. I mean, I'm not going to tell you it is, but how it's going to be is based on how the Bills do. What happens in the playoffs over the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, if it's more than 10, that's incredible. It's been 7.
Right.
They've made the playoffs 6 years in a row. They've won the division 5 years in a row. Right now, he and they are in a class of teams that are known for losing. They're known for being good or great even, but not getting to the top. And we've lived it with the Kelly teams. That's kind of what that was. Allen is better than Kelly. I mean, I think that's kind of easy. And I loved Kelly in those teams, but I think that's kind of easy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what that discourse has always been since they broke up since they retired. That's always been.
They didn't get there. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they got there. They didn't win it. Yeah.
I mean, they could have been like the Lions or some team that did nothing. So they did way more than that. But that's just that's how it goes. And I think that's also how it goes here. And the difference in competition in the AFC here versus then is dramatic. And the Bills are a victim of that. Not to say that they're entirely without fault, but they're a victim of Mahomes and Burrow. And they've beaten Lamar Jackson.
But he's there.
But he's a comp for Allen too, because they're having the same career.
Right.
They're both incredible. You've never seen anything like them before. MVP players, but they haven't gotten there yet, and they'll be remembered largely the same if that doesn't change. I think you had to see them, but they're not going to have, other than on Hallmark, movies made about them. They're not going to have. You don't have John Facenda yet here happening with this team.
No.
You might have whoever Hallmark's narrator is, the voice of Hallmark. Who's that going to be? Is that somebody like the Smuckers guy or somebody?
The late George Wendt. I don't know.
The Smuckers guy?
I don't know who that is.
I don't know if there is one, but anyway, you get the point. 803-0550. Josh Allen's career comp is whom? Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Saturday at 4:30 for the NLL title, one game for the Ship at home against Saskatchewan, sold out. So just under 48 hours from now is that one. Teams have split two very tight games so far in the best of three.
Right, 12-10 win and an 11-10 loss, I believe, for the Bandits.
Sounds pretty close.
Yes. And the 12-10 was like kind of they had to surge late, I think, to get game one.
So that is Saturday afternoon. Here is Jake next. Hi, Jake.
Hey, there's been a lot of comparisons that don't fit. Like I hear Steve Young and Johnny Unitas and stuff like that, these elusive quarterbacks that can throw as well. But Josh Allen is a prolific power-running quarterback, and I don't think there's another one like him in NFL history. The rest of the running quarterbacks that have been really successful have been elusive. I mean, he's second all time in QB rushing touchdowns. I guess the closest comparison you could make is like a young Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, that's the only one I could come up with.
Okay.
Body type wise, I get it. I mean, Roethlisberger's, what was he, like 6'5", 240? That's close enough to Allen. He was never, I
got it.
He was never the runner. He extended plays. He was big. He was powerful, but he was not a dangerous runner. I don't feel like at all. And he won so early. I mean, he won in his second year, and then his fourth year, and then his back again in his sixth year, I think, Roethlisberger. So if you want to, team results into it, like the Steve Young comparison worked for me. Stylistically, they were very different looking players. I don't disagree. But it took him a while to get over the hump.
But they were both dangerous runners.
Yeah.
That's what Roethlisberger, I think, lacks.
Yeah, I just don't think he was ever a real threat.
And Allen is dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
And so was Young, and so was Randall Cunningham, other guys over the years. Yeah. But, thanks, Jake. I think it's the combination of the style and then also like the team.
The waiting.
Path that the Bills were on, these other guys were on, that, there are a lot of comparisons just on that. Find a quarterback for a team that's been close for basically the quarterback's whole career. You'd find lots of those guys. And some of these names included, and some of them got there, and some of them didn't. Moon didn't. Like, some of those guys never did get to a championship. But, yeah, of course, you're right, in terms of the size of the player, right on. 803-0550, who is your best or favorite comp for Josh Allen all time? Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Lines are open for you. This is WGR.
Playoff action tonight, Game 2 of the conference finals. In the NHL at 8, Carolina looks to not fall into an 0-2 hole. They host the Florida Panthers. That game is going to be on TNT/HBO Max. And the Maple Leafs, we got news out of them as they announced today the team president, Brandon Shanahan's contract is not going to be renewed when it expires on June 30th. But all reports are saying that Brad Treliving is expected to stay on as general manager. We also had quarterfinals of the World Champions Day in hockey. The United States secures a spot in the semifinals with a 5-2 win over Finland. Canada, though, will not be in the semis as they were upset by Denmark 2-1 earlier this afternoon. Paul Hamilton has more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. Over in the NBA, Minnesota on the road versus OKC for Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Minnesota hoping to tie that series up. Tip-off at 8:30. The game will be over on ESPN. College football changing up their playoff seeding as now the 12-team playoff will be moved to a straight seeding model first starting this season. It's going to reward the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and a first-round bye. And then later on tonight in baseball, the Bisons on the road versus the Iron Pigs at 6:45, and that game will be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
All right, what's the report from outside?
I was outside for maybe 3 minutes. I counted 8 Q-tips. It's got to be one person that just throws their Q-tips out the window when they're done using them in their cars.
It's Mike Schopp.
One person?
More than one person using Q-tips and throwing them outside?
I don't think I use 8 Q-tips in a year.
I think I've never used 8 Q-tips.
And the Bulldog.
What the hell is going on out there? I don't think I want to work in a place where people roll their windows down if they're using Q-tips for Lord knows what and just throw them on the ground.
Well, you do.
What, is it the 70s?
Oh, that's not very nice.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Driving on the highway 65 miles an hour. I get a little left in my soda from the fast food drive out the window. That was the 70s. Who gives an F about anything?
Throw a burrito out the window.
Nothing matters. 2025, what are you doing?
On WGR.
Throwing Q-tips out of your car.
Sports Radio 550.
Haven't seen any lately. I wonder if we had a hand in curtailing the behavior.
We can hope.
I kind of want to think so, yeah.
Making the world a better place, one Q-tip at a time.
One dropped Q-tip out the window in the parking lot at a time. Yes.
World doing a lot of work there. Making our parking lot a better place, one Q-tip at a time.
Yes. Yes.
World was a bit grand.
Comps for Josh Allen. It's not easy. He's different. He's not somebody that draws perfect comparisons to other quarterbacks over the years. You want size, then like the last caller, Jake brought up Roethlisberger. You want running ability. You get to other guys who are different kinds of runners. He's more like a fullback or something in terms of that, but a very effective one. Even maybe his passing goes under reported here because when you're trying to make a comparison, you maybe first think about his running. But, the passing's good enough to win an MVP award and be an elite player.
Yeah, he's such a good passer that he really doesn't get pigeonholed as a running quarterback, I don't think. But he is one of the best running quarterbacks I think we've ever seen. But his passing is so good that he doesn't get the criticism that even, Lamar Jackson's passing has been excellent, but he still can't live down his college career for some reason. And some early misguided criticism, I think he's still fighting against that, even though he's won 2 MVPs. That usually sticks to a guy if they're thought to be a runner first. And Allen is so good, but I don't feel like he gets labeled that way. I don't think he has to fight that same fight that some guys who were more run first have been, because he's really not run first. He's just run excellent.
He has the same number exactly of rushing touchdowns for his career than does Thurman Thomas.
That's incredible in 7 seasons to have done that as a quarterback is incredible.
It is.
And it is 65. Right to say he is not like anyone else who's done it at a really high level. The power with which he operates is just you said fullback, tight end, even like he's Gronk in the open field, except more athletic even than Gronk.
Maybe,
but power wise, he's got that element, and I really cannot think. That's why I'm being hard on a guy for mentioning Roethlisberger, because size wise, if Roethlisberger were a better athlete, a better runner, it might have worked because he might have been capable. He was certainly capable of being powerful and throwing people off of him, but he just didn't have the foot speed or the agility to be a runner at the level that Allen is. And I don't think, even Elway, I like athletically Elway as a comp because the passing is irrefutably great, and he was elusive. He scrambled, he ran. But even that is not, like, it was more, I don't know, more like because he had to than a weapon, Like, I don't remember. It's just a different era. You did not have designed run plays for guys back then. I don't think. Maybe I'm, misremembering here, but.
You mean Ben?
No, Elway even. I'm going back to Elway. I don't think you had power sweeps for John Elway.
No, they didn't do that. You'd have quarterback draws, though. The quarterback draw has been in the game the whole time. And that was your quarterback, or sneaks, but that was your quarterback running play. But no, Allen will take a shotgun snap and just go around the right tackle.
Right.
Touchdown, easy. What's next?
And run over a linebacker in the process. And that guy, I don't think, has existed in our lives, or really the life of pro football. I don't know. I got to be careful. Somebody out there remembers Otto Graham, and I'm old, but I ain't that old. So
there would have been, I don't know, Red Grange or somebody. Like, there would have been somebody from the earliest days of football that was the offense, but they wouldn't throw the ball ever.
Right.
Like, they didn't even do that. So it's pointless, But Elway's good. Like, that was your first name, and Elway's good. Athletic, just kind of great all around. And his career for a long time was
defined by
not getting to a championship, and then eventually he did. He's a cause for hope for Allen. Elway would be blamed, though, for it. Allen doesn't really get blamed for it. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it really stuck to Elway. Those early in his career, those Super Bowl losses, and they were all blowouts. And, like, what's his problem? And then eventually, almost a decade later, they won.
There wasn't a problem really at all. The problem was the rest of the team wasn't good enough, or you were up against some, incredible powerhouse like the 49ers.
Or he changed, maybe. Like, I wonder what he would say. I'm sure he's been asked. Would he claim to be, did he mature, or did he sort of figure something out later in his career? I don't know what he's said about that.
He figured out Terrell Davis is what he figured out.
Maybe, yeah. Kyle is with us. Hi, Kyle.
How's it going, guys?
Good, thank you.
I'd say the best comp I could come up with is Michael Vick. With the speed, the arm, he never really ran anyone over, but when either of those guys take off the defense, they're holding their breath. They know it could go for 80 yards on a rushing touchdown. So I'll hang up and listen in.
Okay. I don't quite see Allen, for as loose, I think, as you can be with this. Vic is Jackson, or Jackson is Vic. Like, there's your breakaway touchdown run. Allen doesn't, even like the one against against Pittsburgh
in the playoffs,
where like there's a fake dive, and like he's not running away from the defense. He's just running through them, or even like literally through a guy along the way. So that's different. That's definitely different from Vic. But if you didn't see any of these guys play, and you'd see the stats, sure, like that's a guy. Allen is a better overall quarterback, I think.
I think a much better passer than Vic too. Maybe I got to pump the brakes on much. I don't have the stats memorized, but I'd be surprised if Vic could really touch Allen as a passer. I don't feel like he was that prolific. He did have a big arm. The caller's absolutely right about that. But he could throw it over the mountains, Vic. But I just don't think he produced completion percentage and just everything. I don't think it's at that level.
Vic was like it was a ride with him, incredible college player, gets the NFL and polarizing, kind of the way Newton was. Is this guy actually great? And they went to an NFC Championship game, Atlanta, and lost to the Eagles, I think. Maybe the year the Eagles made it, they went through Atlanta. And, we were arguing about whether Michael Vick was actually good, right? Newton had that. Allen really doesn't. And then Vick, he went away.
Hardcore away, yeah.
Which, there was that. When he went back in the league, though, and played for Philadelphia, man, that was hot. I remember in fantasy one day, and that was before I was like a sicko for it, but I was playing, and we wouldn't have been talking to Chris Mortensen, but maybe he was on. We were talking to somebody like 4 o'clock segment. We're doing an interview, and we had ESPN on, but it's a long time ago, and there it is on the ticker that either he was going to start for Philadelphia or they had signed him. I think it was that he was named the starter for their next game. And I'm, you're talking or our guest is talking, and I just quickly went to the fantasy site and added Michael Vick, because if that works out, right, like that, and he was just sitting on waivers, it's like immediately it was a league where you could do that. Just you didn't have to wait until 3 a.m. or something. Just bang, added him. And there was that Monday night. Maybe it wasn't even the same year. I think it was though. Remember the Monday night in Washington? So it's Eagles, Washington, and first play of the game is Vick throwing like a 60-yard bomb to Deshaun Jackson for a touchdown to start the game. And I'm out of my seat. Like that, it might not even have mattered if I'd had him on fantasy. Like that was just like so cool.
Welcome back. Yeah.
To start a game. This year, the Eagles will start the game opening night with the tush push. We've established that. Right. They're very proud of themselves getting to keep it. They worked hard. The owner and Jason Kelsey, they worked hard to keep it in the league. So they're definitely going to flaunt it.
Yeah.
But that was a memorable night with Vic. He did give you some great highlights. The touchdown run for Atlanta against Minnesota,
the one where the two DBs crash into each other because they misjudge how fast he is.
Yeah,
as soon as they got the angle on him, they're closing on him, and it's like a cartoon.
That's Lamar.
Yeah,
like when he showed up, the one against Cincinnati, where he's spinning and just sort of. Yeah, the Bengals guys are just falling down like bowling pins.
Never got to 3,000 yards as a Falcon passing. Did get there in his first full season. I shouldn't say first full season, as a starter. Only 12 games, actually, 3,000 yards passing twice for Philly. Season high 21 touchdown passes. So, passing-wise, just not – he pales. Allowing for error correction. It's not exactly, the era we're in now where it's even more explosive, but it also is neither the 90s.
Do you still have his page up?
Yep.
How many rushing touchdowns career?
Career rushing touchdowns, he has 36.
Allen has 65 already.
Right.
Same as Thurman, more than OJ. Like, all time. OJ didn't have the longest career, but still, it's insane. Frank is next. Hi, Frank.
How you doing, guys? Love the show.
Thank you.
Now, let me preface this by saying I really don't think there's a perfect comp. I think he's, unparalleled, Allen, in the combination of, passing and running. However, I'm a Vikings fan as well as a Bills fan. I think he's kind of like Randall Cunningham, probably more like the Philadelphia one. He did a lot more runs there. In Minnesota, he had Moss and Chris Carter and Jake Reed. That was a juggernaut of an offense.
Yeah.
But I see some similarities there. Cunningham's a little bit bigger as opposed to like Vic. I agree with you completely. Vic is Lamar Jackson is Vic, just more explosive, in my opinion.
And a much better passer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a much better passer. Agreed. But no, I see Cunningham. I was a big fan of his, growing up, and I see similarities between the two. I'll hang up and see what you guys think.
I like it a lot. Cunningham is black, and there'd be like fast, sort of stereotypes you would make. But he was like the most famous Randall Cunningham highlight I think of, or I know of, is a Monday night game against the Giants, where he gets like tackled but stays on his feet, like kind of Allen Wood, and makes the pass for the touchdown against the Giants at the Vet. And so Cunningham did have, he was big, but he was skinny. He did have the strength or the size to...
Another play that would come to mind is the play against the Bills where he's corralled in the end zone, gets away, and throws it. It's a 99-yard touchdown or whatever it is to Fred Barnett.
Yeah, I was there for that.
That's... that is strength and agility and elusiveness and all of it, and a big arm.
I love that you brought that up. You really can't remember it. I mean, it's 1990, but there would have been. I remember where I sat. So I'm on the. If you can picture the play on TV, Cunningham takes the snap. He's in the right end zone. It's only Bruce Smith who's got him wrapped up, and he gets out. I'm on the lower left corner on the other end of the field, and Barnett. None of the play was near me. Like, it was sort of the other end of the field where Barnett scores, or the other side of the field. And there would have been, that's a back and forth, fun. Philadelphia's here this year. Maybe we get that game. It's two good teams, and big plays are happening. The Bills got a lead. Then this Cunningham play happens. There's a certain sound a crowd makes after that. Just sort of, it's a Bills crowd, but you're kind of still in awe. And it's just like the sound of 80,000 people talking to each other at the same time.
Did you see that? What just happened?
Right? You're not booing, you're not cheering,
right.
But it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
This is the best. That was a play where I think I probably was just very happy to be alive.
Yes, right. I just saw something that people are going to be talking about 40 years from now.
And the scoreboard then couldn't really show you anything.
Right.
It wasn't.
No.
You had to see the play on the scoreboard. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
But it was more like, I can't wait to see that later.
Right. Yeah.
When I get home.
Yeah.
On the news.
ESPN highlights or the news, the local
I'll
news.
see that play at 11:22. Hey, speaking of fantasy, Bulldog, I know you were hoping I was going to go into that.
Champing at the bit to talk fantasy.
Very good use, champing. That's the right word.
It's just for you.
Do you? How do you feel about this? I have been drafting a lot of Khalil Shakir.
Well, I hope that pays off for you. Because
of course.
I feel like within the room, I feel like I've always been more, not that you dislike him, but I think I've liked him more.
I think you still do. I think. I'm curious.
Well, maybe if he kills it for you in fantasy, then you'll like him as much as me.
Yes.
Maybe even surpass me if you win something.
What did last year do for you in terms of him? Did it reinforce where you were? Did it maybe do a little bit less than that? Think of where were you last year on Shakir? He's going to kill it.
I thought he'd be their leading receiver, but I don't think I had unrealistic. I don't feel like he let me down because I don't think I ever talked about him like he's going to be Diggs or something and he's going to catch 120 passes. I did not. I never thought that.
Right.
I do think that it's possible. I don't. I wouldn't maybe I would bet on it if the odds were right that there's another step. Like if they feel like there's ways to use him, if they can bring themselves to maybe at times detach from everybody eats and try to recognize, okay, this guy with the ball in his hands is electric and he's super reliable. Like, get it near him, he's catching it. His catch rate is outstanding and has been since he showed up, even before he produced as much as he produced last year.
The first preseason.
Right. So 13 for 13. Targets, receptions, bang. If they can get over themselves to an extent, I don't know if that's a harsher way than I really want to phrase it to put it, but just to sort of make him more of a focal point, I think he could. I mean, we do see slot receivers in the league lead their teams in receptions. Now, Shakir did that, but with more volume, right? Think about Amon-Ra St. Brown or Cooper Kupp. If they could get to that point, I think he could be a 100-catch guy. I just don't know that they're going to feed him. And that cuts both ways, right? You got to warrant being fed. A team has to feel like you deserve it and therefore go that route. And we certainly didn't get there last year. But I think we could. But maybe that's too much to ask for. So I guess I want to hold out like 30% chance that there's another step to be taken for him. through them feeding him more, but that's as high as I could get. Like, I think he's probably, there's a good chance that he's who he is.
Yeah, I think very good. Last year, 76 for 821 and 4. And that was on 61% of the snaps. So he's not always on the field. I don't know why that can't be higher. Maybe Kincaid has something to do with that. 2 tight ends on the field.
Alec Anderson.
Or Alec Anderson. It wasn't like, and it still isn't like, they're so flush at receiver that there's no room for him to play more. I just don't see how or why his role would increase. Maybe the biggest reason, which isn't a good reason why it would, is the contract. But that wouldn't be a good reason to do it. He earned what he got, and that kind of production to the Bills warranted that kind of money.
Right, but like half as much as the market rate for a number one receiver.
Because he isn't better than he is.
Right.
He's not St. Brown.
Right.
Or even close, I think. So I kind of think, if he put down the same year for the next 3 years, that's a win. 76 for 821 and 4, that's a win.
I think so. I wonder, though, I'm not disagreeing with the contract, not being a good reason to suddenly decide, okay, I gotta justify the contract. You can get yourself in real trouble doing that. But it could be a sign that 60%. I'm surprised to hear that. I did not know his percentage. I would have guessed, if you'd asked me without telling me it was 61%, I would have guessed it was closer to 80. And maybe a way to get him to that. Now, we already mentioned some possible reasons why, right? 2 tight ends, Alec Anderson, everybody eats. But maybe they graduate to 11. Maybe part of Joe Brady's offseason has been, how can I use this guy more? How can I, rather than pull him off the field when we go to 2 tight ends, and I don't mean to assume, I don't know which situations he would have been pulled off the field in, but 60% is low to me. And if maybe an idea for them going into the offseason was, let's find a way to use him in some different spots, right? If the slot is occupied by Kincaid because we've got 2 tight ends on the field, or, we're pulling a receiver off the field and it's Shakir because we want to get Alec Anderson out here, maybe use him outside and see if that can work. And you can find some stuff that he can do for you in addition to being this very reliable slot receiver. Maybe that's a way to increase his snap count. I think he is their best guy, and it would make sense if you agree with that internally to try to get him on the field more. That doesn't necessarily mean feeding him, but just more opportunity. If everybody eats, but I'm only on the field 60% of the time, I only have a chance to eat 60% of the time. If I'm on the field 80% of the time, then maybe I can eat a little more.
Oh.
So
then you get fat, though.
There's a way to maybe get more out of him, but it requires them, sort of
so he's
bending a little bit.
So he's maybe like Margot, my pug, where, yes, I know, Margot's like, I know I just ate. Thank you for my food, but I am going to sit here and watch you eat every time. Hopefully you'll give me some of that hot dog roll, maybe a little bit of that veggie chili that was just made. It smells good with the Anaheim peppers.
I bet she'd love those biscuits.
And the cheddar cornbread biscuits. Maybe you'll give me that. I'd like to eat more. I'm settling for, what I'm getting, but I'm here for more.
Cheddar cornbread biscuits sounds like a tough one for a dog. To me,
maybe not good.
Yeah, like
okay.
That could be.
We didn't give her any of that. I didn't give her any of the biscuits.
I feel cheese and a dog just to me sounds like a.
But that's her favorite food. Oof. Yeah, that's her favorite. That's her number one. I will do whatever you say. Food. You say that word.
I don't think I've ever given any of my dogs cheese.
Probably smart. Yeah. But that's her. Provolone is number one, by the way. If you're wondering, like within the cheese rankings. That's the one she seems the most excited about.
The relatively smelly cheese. That works. Okay, I can see that appealing to a dog.
We have it, sandwiches, and it's not like she's tried all these French cheeses. I don't think she knows a lot from the Comte.
I'm so careful about cheese with Fred that if he loves pizza crust, pizza for sure is the thing that he will do what you're describing. He's in front of me and he's just sitting there completely still.
I'm right here.
If you need anything,
throw the ball to me.
I'm prepared.
I'm open,
and I will make sure that there is nothing but crust there. Like, I don't want sauce. Just plain
Meat
crust.
lovers.
Right. No, I don't. No.
Hey, Fred, it's meat lovers.
My wife gave him ham once, and I was just like, why would you do that?
You love the reaction. You love to treat the dog.
I mean,
that's
like
why.
A green cloud following him around if you give him ham.
It's kind of fun to do it. It's hard for me to resist. 803-0550. We've got Andrew Filipponi at 6. Plenty of time before that for your calls, and lines are open now. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Conference Finals in the NHL. It's the Eastern Conference Final at 8 o'clock. Carolina looks to not fall into an 0-2 hole against the Panthers. They will host Florida tonight. Game will be on TNT and Max. We also got news out of Toronto as the Maple Leafs have announced that team president Brendan Shanahan's contract will not be renewed when it expires on June 30th. But other reports are saying that GM Brad Treliving is expected to stay in his role. In the NBA, Minnesota, they're on the road versus Oklahoma City tonight, Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Minnesota hoping to tie that series up at 1 apiece with tip-off at 8:30. That game is going to be over on ESPN. And while the NFL has made a number of rule changes, college decided to jump into the fun as they announced a change to the playoff seeding, with the 12-team college football playoff now moving to a straight seeding model, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams, with the top 4 seeds also getting a first-round bye. And then the Bisons, they are on the road tonight versus the Iron Pigs at 6:45. That game will be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Off the boards with it is Jensen, shoots it, rebound, score! Olsen! Nick Olsen has put Denmark ahead of Canada with 49 seconds to go in the third.
And that would hold up. Denmark eliminates Canada from the World Men's Hockey Championships. 2-1, the final today.
U.S. won their quarterfinal over Finland 5-2, and will meet Sweden in a semifinal. Switzerland and Denmark will meet in the other. Switzerland eliminated Austria earlier today, 6-0. Today.
Also, the sled hockey, the World Para Ice Hockey Championships are in Buffalo, starting on Saturday at Harbor Center. So you can check that out. Tickets, real quick, since I brought it up. And this page isn't working right now. It says
super duper.
I'm sure tickets are available for that, and pretty special event this weekend. You can watch it usahockeytv.com. Watch the U.S. team play. This is the men, I think. Okay.
Good deal.
Take a quick email real quick. Hey, Mike, longtime listener, just wondering how your BBM 6 fast draft went last night. Thanks, J-Mac. I felt a little rusty, but I think it came off. We were talking about Shakir before, and I don't know if I needed to, but I mentioned the subject came up because I had been drafting a lot of him. I'm in maybe 25 drafts right now, maybe 30 that are slow. And one reason why Shakir has been like a good pick in my mind is because of the Philadelphia game, Week 17, and you've got A.J. Brown, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Hurts, Devontae Smith, who all go pretty early. And if you have Eagles, you want Bills, hoping that you get to Week 17 and that game goes off. And Shakir is the guy in that range. He's the first receiver. He's the second Bill to go. Like, there's nobody. Last year, I think Kincaid might have gone higher than this.
What about Cook?
Okay, that's right, Cook. Cook is like, I have a blind spot. I just never pick Cook. 4 or 5 range, late 4th for Cook. Allen is like mid to late 3rd. And Shakir is round 7. And then Coleman, I think, would be next, like round 10. And Kincaid has really fallen. There's no confidence in him. I shouldn't say no. There's not a lot of confidence in him after the first 2 years of his career. Just, what is he?
Well, now's the time that he turns that around.
Now's the time, if you believe that, to jump in.
Right.
Because you can do it. Most people are kind of down on him. And, yeah, I mean, there's, what would the Bills say? Still young.
Injuries.
Right.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
But that's what the Shakir thing is about. Like, I'm not expecting really any more production than before from him. Maybe he'll just have better red zone luck, right? 4 touchdowns and a couple, what were they? A couple were breakaways. run after the catch plays.
So maybe he gets a couple of more of those, get home instead of getting caught or whatever, because he is really good with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
So,
if you were to answer the question, like, what is his strength as a player, or what are his strengths, what would you say? Maybe that.
Run after catch / reliable hands. I don't know what order. I mean, you got to catch the ball first before you can be good with it after the catch. So maybe hands should precede his run after catch, but I think both are excellent. His catch rate, there's nothing fluky about that. It is weird to me, the Kincaid thing, part of the Kincaid thing is the failure to really connect with Allen. The number of misses there, uncatchable balls targeted to Kincaid it's I don't have it memorized, but it's just when you see it, when you read it, if I had the number to tell
50-some%.
Yeah, it would blow your mind. Like, how do they miss that often? It just, and that doesn't have to all be Allen. It could be Kincaid isn't getting to the right spot at the right time or something. I don't know, but they just have not connected. And that's a bigger problem to me than the injuries. And that could contribute to him not getting to the spot that you want him or expect him if he's, somewhat hampered, making cuts or whatever he would have been last year because of the injuries he had. But them not being connected is
timing
is really tough.
Yep.
You're gonna want. You need that to happen if it's going to get off the ground here in year 3.
And again, to the listener that took the time to write me about the draft last night, just to say one more thing, that was a Bijan Robinson team. Yesterday, we had a guest on from Atlanta, and we talked about how the Bills play Atlanta on a Monday night, so no excuses here, in Week 6. Will that be your first look at Bijan Robinson? They do play a Monday night game in Week 2.
I've seen him, but I've not really. I don't think I've watched an entire Falcons game since he's been there.
Since when, do you think? When they play the Bills?
Yeah, with Matt Ryan, and there was that weird sequence at the end of the game where he took a personal foul penalty.
I forget about that every time.
Matt Ryan, some strange thing with he and Poyer. Like something happened, they got penalized. It really cost them, the Falcons. That's probably the last full Falcons game that I watched. In primetime, I've looked at them when they were in Europe, and Kyle Pitts caught a touchdown pass the one year I had Kyle Pitts in fantasy.
His one touchdown of the season.
Right. I probably watched that whole game. I remember when he caught the touchdown pass, I was on my bicycle in the basement watching the game on my iPad, exercising. And that's a good way that I will watch an entire game. Not that I'll be on the bike for 3 hours, but I'm just saying, like, if I, start watching a game and I'm going to go work out, I will finish, the game, doing that.
That reminds me of Ian Hartitz, because we talked to Ian Hartitz about that, like Pitts, and it was against the Jets in London, and he was being covered by a defensive lineman. Ian's like, maybe he should do better next year than one touchdown all year in Europe against a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
But he did go for 1,000 yards as a rookie. Like, for all as maligned of a player as he's been, the expectations were so high. He did go for 1,000 yards. I think it's not with Shakir. I'm not thinking touchdowns. Kincaid, you want touchdowns. That's where you want it. If he's not going to be a seam stretcher ever, he's not fast enough or elusive enough or strong enough, whatever it is, where that's not going to manifest in the NFL, okay. But if you can get him 6 red zone touchdowns, where he can become, because who is that player for them? It was running last year. It's always Allen and then Cook. Yep. Like, they really didn't need to have a go-to. Coleman wasn't it. Maybe he can be it. Maybe Kincaid, but you'd like to have an option on, 3rd and goal from the 9, where it isn't just Allen desperately trying to, scramble to make it.
Or, first thing that comes to mind for me and probably a lot of our audience when you suggest Coleman for that role is fades, jump balls, because he's, so good at that. And he did get the one against Seattle last year, great play. But no, I'm thinking more, for him and Kincaid both. They're big guys. All right, I mean, Kincaid's, I think, even bigger than Coleman, but Coleman's a good-sized receiver. You should be able to use, like, some basketball, not jump ball, but, like, just I'm boxing you out. I'm out here from the slot or out wide, and I'm cutting in, and you're just not going to get there. You're going to be trying to stick a hand through from behind me. You're probably going to get flagged for interference if you do that. And I'm really the play that ends up in a Jalen Ramsey interception is the play I'm thinking of last year against Miami, where the ball's there for Coleman, but he doesn't catch it clean. He bounces off his hands, and Ramsey comes down with it. That play, either one of those guys, I'll stop short of saying automatic, but those should be options. I like a play like that way more than just chucking it up into the corner and hoping the timing's right and my guy wins the battle. Let them use their size, their physicality, and ideally their hands. Don't wait for the ball to get to your body. Pluck it, and you're almost indefensible on a play like that.
With the gloves these days, they should always catch it.
Right.
Those
just went wrong on that one play. I'm thinking
superhero
of that Miami game.
Alien gloves. Some more names for a Josh Allen comp when we come back. Andrew Filipponi today at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. The show has maybe never sounded older than one thing that was said, or at least the off-air portion of it, just a conversation in the room when Bulldog evoked the name Raymond Floyd earlier. Because there was a senior golf tournament on. Raymond Floyd, who might have won the 76 Masters, he might have won the 86 U.S. Open. I played golf in a tournament on Monday, and I'm not that good. I used to be okay, but now I shoot in the 90s. If that, on a bad day, it'll be worse. But I notice, I watch a lot of golf, and I have watched it almost my whole life, and even old golf sometimes. It's good to sleep to. Put an old tournament on, and they're all there.
Yeah, even new golf is good to sleep to.
Sure, right, no difference.
It's very good Saturday, Sunday afternoon nap accompaniment.
It's just not on at 1 a.m.
Right, right.
Although it's probably on YouTube just the same. Anyway, Floyd, I liked him when I was a kid. Like, he was somebody I was into. I liked when he won the Open. Shinnecock was his win. And he had this pose. Like, he would hit the ball and sort of like just stop. He had this certain pose to Raymond Floyd. And on Monday, I hit a shot, and it was him. I just thought of him. After I hit it, I wanted to sort of kind of guide the ball into the fairway a little bit, not just wildly swing at it. And so it was maybe like a 4-iron like this. And I swung the club and just sort of hit it right on the so pure.
Yeah.
And just sort of held the pose. I'm like, that's Ray Floyd. I feel like all my shots should be me trying to do Ray Floyd on the. So you mentioned him earlier. I'm like, oh, I have a thing. I have a Raymond Floyd story.
Is that like a slightly shorter follow through you're describing?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Maybe also a shorter backswing.
Yeah,
but just sort of like shorten it. I'm not sure I'm describing it well, but that's how I think of it, and it worked. And then I went back to my.
Usual.
I went back to my wild.
Yeah.
My miss is a shutdown, low left miss. That's my miss. I hardly ever slice the ball anymore, but I'm just like too fast and end up just sort of shutting the face and hitting the ball low and left. It's almost unusable. But once in a while, Ray Floyd comes out. He shows up. What do you think of that?
I like it. It's good to pattern yourself after someone who's just that excellent.
Yeah, it is, right? You wouldn't want to pick a bum.
No, definitely not. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I've been in the lab. I feel like since I've started playing, this is my 4th season now planning to play. The weather's not cooperating super well so far through into May here. But, expecting to play a lot of golf 2 to 3 times a week is what I did last year. But I've mostly been like, there's the ball, hit it. Right, I'm not someone who gets over the ball and like, okay, left arm straight, hands. Just sort of very granola-y, hippie-ish. Like it feels good, yeah. And this year started out ragged, so I'm tinkering. I'm in the lab,
and you don't want to be.
I've chosen to be. It chose me. I had to do something. I did not like how I was hitting the ball to start the year. Even at the range, it just wasn't there. And I don't know, I think I put on a little bit of weight over the winter that I'm not real happy about either, and that might be affecting my swing. I don't know. Really, it was Owen shot video of me when we were in Puerto Rico. 2 swings that I watched, and I went, oh. I'm not turning at all. It's very handsy. And so I need to do some work. And that's what started it. I thought that's either it's bad habits. I don't think I've been swinging like that all along here for the past 3 seasons. So I'm getting a little more. I'm taking a little more time at address and just trying to. So I don't know. Mixed results. Really good round one time. Next round, I should quit the sport. It's just sort of all over the road right now. I'm hoping it comes together as we get to June, but we'll see.
I am too. Quickly, 3 more names to the conversation we've had much of today, like who's the all-time best comparison for Josh Allen. There continue to be new names brought up that I think are kind of reasonable. 3 more on Twitter that we didn't mention. Steve McNair.
I like that one.
Because we talked a lot about his running, but he's a certain kind of runner, physical. And McNair was that. He wasn't prolific, but he was tough.
Yeah,
that guy. Vince Young.
Not as much as McNair. I like McNair more. For the power. McNair mostly was physical because he wasn't as elusive. So he had to, like, if he ran, he was going to try to run you over. He could do it. He was a big, thick dude, McNair. Vince Young, there's not a lot of power there in my mind. He's more like an outside shooter to me.
Okay.
Like, right, if I'm thinking about a power forward that doesn't want to go inside, that's Vince Young to me.
And Dante Culpepper.
Ooh, man, I had a crush on him for a while.
You did. You liked him. You were scared of the Dolphins.
When he got to Miami, I thought, look out, this guy. And, that didn't happen.
He was kind of shot by then already.
Yeah, he was.
Sort of.
But that was that was a powerhouse.
Who could throw the ball a long way.
Yeah.
The Vikings, Dante Culpepper was, kind of scary good for a minute there. Thanks for your suggestions. Andrew Filipponi, After Sports. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The conference finals in both the NHL and NBA. In the NHL at 8 o'clock, Carolina looks to not fall into an 0-2 hole as they host the Panthers. That game's going to be on TNT Max. We also did get news from the Maple Leafs today as they announced team president Brendan Shanahan's contract will not be renewed when it expires on June 30th. But reports are saying that Brad Treliving is expected to stay on as general manager. In the NBA, Minnesota, they're on the road in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals as they take on Oklahoma City. Minnesota hoping to tie up that series at 1 game apiece. That game will tip off at 8:30 and will be over on ESPN. In college football, playoff seeding has changed as now the 12-team college football playoff will move to a straight seeding model, rewarding the selection committee's top 4 teams with the top 4 seeds and a first-round bye. And then the Bisons, they are on the road tonight versus the Iron Pigs, 6:45 first pitch, and that game will be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Raisin Bran. You got to put Raisin Bran up there. Everybody knows it.
It's Mike Schopp.
Listen, get your own stupid old dying person team and choose your own cereals.
And the Bulldog.
I shall unleash my fury upon you like the crashing of 1,000 waves.
That cereal is soggy. You reach into the fridge for the milk and open the lid on the milk to pour it in there, and that crap is already soggy.
I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds.
That's a problem for a cereal.
I
huge think.
Problem.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Iron Pigs. I've never really warmed up to it. Iron Pigs. One word, by the way, in this case. Yeah. Iron Pigs.
Lehigh Valley?
Lehigh Valley. They moved there from Ottawa a few years ago.
All right.
One word, Iron Pigs.
Yeah, that's tough.
They're really good, by the way. I know you probably knew that. They win 2 out of 3 games.
Hang on, let me get to the page I've got open of the International League standings.
There must have been a mix-up. I don't hear you talking. Has the Pittsburgh sports scene become so bleak that there's Iron Pigs talk? It's the other part of the state, so I doubt it. Andrew Filipponi with us, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, longtime friend of ours, joins us on the West Her Hotline. We have not reached DEFCON Iron Pigs, right, Andrew?
Bulldog, would you consider something that happened 20 years ago, a few years ago? The Ottawa Lynx left Canada when I was still doing games. I think when I was in college, Mike. That's no longer a few. That's crossed the few Rubicon. That's a long time ago.
Good catch.
That's fair.
Good catch, Andrew.
That's a non-derogatory. That's fair. I accept it. I did a game in Ottawa, a playoff game. Rochester and Ottawa, like 95 that would have been. So, all right. So the answer is no. Even though, as astute as you are on the Iron Pigs history, we're not hearing much about them on your show.
You know, it's honestly, when I was with you guys in 2008 and 2009, I would say our sports scene is better in terms of like big name celebrity athletes or coaches. You've got Paul Skeens, you've got Mike Tomlin, you've got Sidney Crosby. But the results really aren't that much better. The Steelers achieve high-end mediocrity. They don't go 7-9. They go 10-7 and get blown out in every playoff game they play in, and they're non-competitive.
Yeah, they're like the fancy drought Bills, really, the Steelers right now.
Yep. The Penguins have now gone 3 straight years without a playoff appearance, and the Pirates have the longest drought among National League teams when it comes to their most recent playoff performance. Only the Angels have gone longer without making the playoffs in the big leagues.
So how real is the talk of trading Paul Skeens already? Is that just something like, because I ask, because, we got to get through the day, but like, is it real?
Well, first of all, Mike, I saw the Paul Skeens
one-of-one MLB debut patch card today. I don't know if you were aware of that whole melodrama, but a kid pulled it, and it went for auction at $1.1 million. Dick's Sporting Goods bought it, and they have it at a store here for everyone to see. And I stopped there today and checked it out, and kind of makes me want to get back into the hobby. But anyways,
interesting.
It's real. It's real in that they're so far away from winning. This franchise just tied a major league record for the longest streak of games without scoring more than 4 runs, 26 in a row. They tied the 1969 Angels and 1931 Boston Braves. That's how bad it's been. And there doesn't look to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So when you see things like an American League team president believes that the Pirates would get the biggest trade return in Major League history for Paul Skeens, I think that makes you at least think about it. Now, Ben Cherington, who other than winning your Red Sox a World Series, Bulldog, has finished in last place in 7 of 8 seasons as a general manager. He said today that it's not happening and didn't even give it the GM speak of, well, we listened to every call. He just completely shot it down. I think it's because the owner made him say that. So it's real in that when you have this kind of pitcher who only goes out there once every 5th day and your team is really adrift and bereft of talent, I think you should consider bold things like that. But no, I think from a PR standpoint, they'd never do it because the fans would revolt.
Yeah. How long do you have? I'm not that familiar with how the different. It's always felt to me like baseball players are a long way away from freedom. It's like, how long do they have him under team control for?
They have 4 more years after this. I think trying to eat up arbitration and make those guaranteed dollars and eating up and buying some of the free agent years is probably a non-starter, just based on how gloomy things are here right now. Like, he's such a competitive guy and wants to win so badly. I can't see him signing up for more of this. So really the window to win with him is even smaller than that, because they will trade him at some point. There's no question. He won't sign a second contract with the Pirates. So it's a matter of when rather than if. And, you know, that's the depressing thing about baseball here. I mean, there's no stopping teams like the Guardians or Rays from winning on a budget. It happens all the time, but it happens less frequently here. And unlike the Bills keeping Josh Allen, there's just no hope of a small market team like the Pirates keeping Paul Skeens once they draft him 1 overall.
It just sounds so awful because you're like, I'm not following it super closely, but when I know he's pitching and I don't have a hockey playoff game or something else that I'm okay, Paul Skeens, it's appointment television. But you're already probably thinking we better trade him before he blows his elbow out, which is an awful way to live.
Which was honestly the debate about drafting him 1 overall in the first place, right? Because his teammate at Dylan Cruz went with the 2nd pick, and there were a lot of people inside baseball who said that was actually the better move. So he wasn't even. It's interesting now, a year later, or 2 years later, actually, from when they picked him. Everyone makes it out like it was a slam dunk, no-brainer decision to take him, but it actually wasn't. And I think we're seeing why people in baseball thought it might make sense to take a position player who had a great ceiling more than the pitcher who only affects things when he starts 33 times at best a year. So it is depressing. It is sad. My co-host made a very good point before the season started, which was, I think the Pirates believe that this is a good thing, that he's going to bring eyeballs and positive attention and viewers and create revenue by people buying jerseys and going to games and stuff. It's actually done the exact opposite, because it's put a spotlight on Pittsburgh and how poorly run the team is and how skinflint the owner is oftentimes. So, yeah, it's amazing. You'd think apathy set in here because they're so rarely good, but people are just, for the most part, really annoyed and ticked off and want to vent about it.
Which I think maybe is better than...
For us, it is, no doubt.
For you, yes.
Because Andrew, I mean, you can imagine what it's like trying to talk about the hockey team around here. 14 years, no playoffs. I feel as a host even, apathetic at times, and that's death.
And schemes, definitely, for better or worse. You're watching in Buffalo. The ratings here when he pitches are huge. We see it actually on our streaming numbers. When he's in the game, it pops. As soon as he exits, it goes way down.
Yeah.
He's appointment viewing and watching. I mentioned that Dick's Sporting Goods I was at. There was an associate there who I talked to today who said his jerseys sell more there than T.J. Watt or Sidney Crosby. You could easily make the case anecdotally that he's the most popular athlete in this town right now.
And he's somewhat of a sympathetic figure, very much one.
Absolutely. He's a martyr.
Hoyt William. Oh, I've been sitting on this for 5 minutes, and I'm finally saying it. I messed it up. Hoyt Wilhelm at 46, a clean 10 saves for the 1969 Angels, by the way. Do you think maybe Hoyt Wilhelm, maybe he could have pitched for the 31 Braves, too? But no, he didn't go back that far.
A name like that sounds like it's from the 30s.
He only goes back to 1952. But, he pitched almost to age 50. Andrew Filipponi on the West Her hotline. Handicap for us, Andrew, the Steelers' Week 1 starting quarterback percentages or percent chance Week 1 at the Jets.
Well, they think it's 100% Aaron Rodgers. They've told their players that. Art Rooney said at that owners' vote in Minnesota this week that we just have to wait a little bit longer. They're saying things like he'll be here in time for mandatory minicamp. I think they believe after the Egypt fiasco last year with the Jets that from an optic standpoint, Aaron Rodgers wants to show people, hey, when everybody needs to be here, I was there. So that's the Steelers' take. But I don't share that optimism. I think it's more like 50-50 just because the guy's his attitude towards football right now does not seem like it's the end-all, be-all, and it's not all that important for him to further his career and make a statement with the Steelers in 2025. I don't know. That's just me reading tea leaves from Joe Rogan this week and just what he seems to be doing in his personal life, and I just don't get the sense that he's like Tom Brady where this is all he cares about. And I think at 41 years old, you probably have to be wired that way. So I still think he'll end up here, but I could see him leaving the Steelers at the altar and them going with Mason Rudolph this season.
Rudolph, and then is there hope for Will Howard? I doubt it would be, Week 1, of course, but is he interesting to you?
He is the most. I said this today on the show. I think he's the most overhyped 6th-round pick in NFL history.
Okay.
I do have some optimism for him because he won a national championship, and he got better as the season went on. And John Gruden said, you remind me of Josh Allen. You've got the same size and weight, and you move well, and you had 4 rushing touchdowns in college of over 65 yards, and you seem to get penalized for playing with great players, and teams thought you were a byproduct of that offense you were in at Ohio State. But I am intrigued. I'd like to see him play. I mean, if I were in charge of the team, if it were my call, I would just go with Will Howard and let him sink or swim. And if you stink, so be it. That puts you in great position to take a quarterback in the 2026 draft. I don't see what the point is of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I just really don't. Like, what are you going to do? Go 10-7 again and finish 6th in the AFC, and you're a touchdown underdog in the AFC playoffs in the wild card round? Like, we've seen that too many times.
Well,
I don't see them as a legit Super Bowl contender with him.
The answer to that question, though, is clearly yes. Like that is the point of Aaron Rodgers. And the next question is, well, what is that worth to you? And to you, and to me, and probably to Bulldog, it's not worth a lot. But they don't have to lose that game, right? Like that's
right.
And it continues the Steelers' brand, the consistency at least of it.
Tomlin never under 500, all that.
Yeah, I don't really respect it, but I'm not him. I don't have the same incentive as this coach would. So I think that is the point, and they're probably a few games worse. Well, is that right? Are they? Would you agree that they're probably at least a couple games worse without Rodgers?
Maybe. I mean, I didn't think Mason Rudolph played that bad for the Steelers at the end of 2023 when he went into Buffalo and played you guys in the playoffs. I know they got behind 3 touchdowns in that game, but and he threw that interception in the end zone. He was the reason he lit a spark for them. Now, I don't have delusions of grandeur with him. Like, I don't think he's going to – I mean, maybe he would be Sam Darnold or Geno Smith. I mean, that would be the upshot. Probably not. I guess there's always a chance. I'd rather dig into that than see what a 41-year-old can do. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers plays well, he's not back here, I don't think, in 2026. You know, the brother of the owner went on Russ Tucker's podcast, and I think he let the cat out of the bag. He said that the team outperforms the mean every year. And he said that not as a pejorative, like it was a negative thing. He said it like that was like a badge of honor for the organization, that they're never bad. They're always better than more than half the league, which makes me think that that probably is their internal expectation, which completely differs from what they used to say and how the fans and how I view them. So, yeah, I mean, they probably look at, Mike, they probably see the difference between 10-7 and 9-8 as some huge thing. I don't, but I really – and by the way, Tomlin has told people that he still believes, and this is crazy to me, he really believes that they can compete for a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. He thinks there's still a great quarterback in there. I didn't see it. I think the second half of the season, people point to the numbers. I think they've been completely blown out of proportion. When the Bills played the Jets at the end of the year, I watched that game. I didn't think Aaron Rodgers had anything left.
40-0.
So I'm just surprised by how many people have tried to twist and contort the numbers at the end of the year to say that this guy can still play. We heard people do that with Russell Wilson before he came here last year, and guess what? The numbers did lie.
Yeah.
He wasn't a good quarterback anymore.
Yeah, the guy, a great player, a player who's been so great for so long. The deterioration doesn't come all at once. Like, he doesn't always look like he can't play. There was a game last year in San Francisco, I think it was, that Rodgers, because I mean, I thought he was going to be a disaster with the Jets. I never bought it. I didn't think he was good as last year in Green Bay. And okay, I'm going to go to the Jets and the Achilles injury and whatever. But so last year I was like, ball of fire. This thing is going to crash and burn so hard. But then there's early in the year, this good game, I think primetime game, like, oh, vintage Rodgers. Like, yeah, once in a while it can come because it's all in there. But age and injury and all of it just catches up to you where you just can't do that for whatever. It takes 1,000 pass attempts a year or whatever. And to think it's going to suddenly elevate, I mean, that's, I guess, the point about the playoff game. Because could he have that game in a playoff game if you get there? I suppose. It could happen. But, man, I just wouldn't bet on it at all.
Their goal right now is a team that so many Bills fans can relate to between Jim Kelly and Josh Allen is to find their next franchise quarterback. And you get no closer to that by playing Aaron Rodgers. The only way, in theory, you would get closer is if Rodgers is so bad, you have your first losing season under Tomlin, and it sets you up in the draft to get that guy. That should be their number one objective at all times. And I just don't see bringing him here as someone that helps you achieve that. That's why I'd rather play a sixth-round rookie quarterback. That's why I'd rather at least maybe for a few games see if Mason Rudolph is the guy they initially drafted if you give him a longer runway. The Rodgers thing, in my opinion, is just a complete waste of time. And I thought the Steelers were better than that, but I was wrong because they tricked themselves into thinking that they can get the Aaron Rodgers who beat them in the Super Bowl 15 years ago.
Andrew, bringing up earlier the 2023 playoff game, the Bills over the Steelers. 2 for 12 on 3 targets that day for Pittsburgh. You guessed it, Hoyt Wilhelm. No, it was Allen Robinson, but it might as well have been Hoyt Wilhelm that day. Andrew, any questions for us?
Where are you guys going on vacation this summer?
For me, it's weekend lacrosse trips, probably 6 times. Nothing. We've got a week at a cottage in Canada that we did last year, too, that's fabulous. But that's that and, Bel Air, Maryland, Columbus, Lake George, Albany. That's what's on my schedule.
Mike's on the youth sports junket, which I definitely punched the clock and punched out a number of times on those trips.
Plus hockey trips to the north.
Yeah, nothing for me, man. We went to Spain last summer. Went to Puerto Rico this spring. and we had to have a, hey, let's cool it with the airfares, because we got a little loose there.
Bulldog got a speeding ticket in Spain and refuses to pay it.
I got a speeding ticket in Spain, yeah. I got mailed a speeding ticket months after we got home, and I've since gotten a follow-up, and I'm just not going to pay it.
I love the follow-up. We're still here waiting for
your
check.
Let him come get me.
Yeah.
Here's my question on that. Is it like the Euro, where there seems to be among European countries this bond where if you went to another country in Europe, could they use that speeding ticket in Spain against you?
One has wondered.
I think it's possible. Most of the feedback I've gotten, because of course, like any good radio talk show host, we have talked about this on the air. I've gotten feedback that says, like, as long as you don't go try to rent a car in Spain, you should be fine. But I don't know. I mean, it could happen. I did rent a car in Puerto Rico in my name, and nothing got flagged. But that's not Europe. So I don't know, Andrew. I don't have an answer. I guess we'll find out when we go to Germany.
Spanish is spoken,
I guess,
but it's not Europe. So there's one distinction you can make.
How about Denmark beating Canada today? Did you guys see that?
Saw the score.
Real.
Crosby and Marc-Andre Fleury are both on that team, right? That's it for Fleury.
Well, here's what happened. Canada was up 1-0 with under 2 minutes left. Denmark scored 2 to beat them. And for people here that wanted to see Marc-Andre Fleury go out on top, he didn't play. They put Binnington in, to which I'll say, the guy's a Hall of Fame goalie. It's his swan song. Binnington already had the Four Nations tournament. I think kind of they deserved it. I mean, what are you doing? Not playing Fleury. It's Denmark, for crying out loud. Come on now.
They thought they'd win. Would he have played in the semis, maybe? Has he been playing?
Yeah, maybe. Were they alternating, or was it Fleury all along, Andrew? I haven't been paying that close attention to,
No, they've alternated because they've had games pretty much every day there. But I think once you get to the tournament, you ride the guy that is literally never going to play a game of hockey ever again. I don't know.
Well, it's not the Iron Pigs, but it is Denmark, and we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, boys.
Thank you, Andrew.
Always fun to talk to you. Yep. Goodbye.
Likewise. Andrew Filipponi, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Speaking of hockey, earlier today, not on the Worlds, but on the NHL playoffs and the Sabres, Matt Larkin from dailyfaceoff.com joined us. We'll have that conversation for you next